Hey, what's happening, people? Welcome back to Marvel Rivals. Today is Gambit King of Thieves, because we were actually gifted a skin by Spider Keith yesterday, so thank you, Spider Keith. Really appreciate that. This showcase would not be possible without you providing the skin for us to showcase today. So, a little announcement. I cannot get the Simpsons game on PS3 to work, but around November 20th, the Simpsons series will resume with the story on Nintendo Wii. So I was able to purchase the Nintendo Wii version of The Simpsons. The series will be finishing. However, there'll be some key differences. The Simpsons Wii game is just the story and the cutscenes. It's it's not, it doesn't have free roaming. So, the Simpsons game on PS3, the good news is the component cables that I purchased do work. However, it made no difference with the Simpsons bugs. The game still jams up trying to load the game. So I basically was like, you know what? People want to see the Simpsons, so we're just going to get the Simpsons on the Wii. Got the last one on Amazon, and it'll be here around the 20th of November. So that's the best I can do, gang. In the meantime, you have Solo Leveling next week. You have Kirby next week, and then the Simpsons will be coming back as your, whatever extra series. Those of you asking about why no Hyrule Warriors is under 1,000 views still. It's at 890 views. It needs 1,000 views in order to resume. I would strongly recommend between streams today that you guys, try to watch as much of that as possible. There is no more musical interlude, so that means that at your leisure you can watch it back without having to worry about like long musical opening. And we can try to get as many views as possible. I would like to continue and finish the post game on Monday, so you guys have until Monday to get 1,000 views on episode 3. In fact, even if the mods could push for that. Now, basically, what live streams or uploads, it's different than you know how you don't have to watch the shorts, you just have to click the shorts. With an upload or a stream, you have to watch it back for at least 5 minutes and then pause it if you're going to stop watching it. Because if you just like click off of it hardcore or like cold turkey, it impacts it. So you want to watch it, and if you can't finish it, obviously because it's a 3-hour stream, just pause it, come back to it the next day, and YouTube will continually collect views for it. Currently there's 0 people watching post game part 3 of Hyrule Warriors, so it's gonna be hard to get another episode to wrap that series up. But we already finished the story, so it's not a big deal on my part, because in my eyes the Hyrule Warriors is done. The post game is extra. It's not even, So anyway, we are playing as Gambit, King of Thieves, mon ami.
I thought you would say King of Thieves.
That's how he says it. He says Thieves because he has a Louisiana accent. So the way he pronounces words is not the way that other people pronounce words. He has a more of a Cajun accent.
Yeah, it sounds like
But a cooler accent.
I don't know why, but Cajun accent kind of reminds me of Haitian accent.
I don't know.
Like the girl from, or maybe it's from the Caribbean almost, because the girl Calypso from the Pirates of the Caribbean, she pronounces stuff like that. Like, we have some things we need to do, and it was like, wow, this kind of sounds like she's almost like a Cajun accent.
I'm not from Louisiana, but I know what a Louisiana accent sounds like. I watched Gambit as a kid.
Yeah, Luke watched tons of X-Men.
The name is Gambit. Remember
How many years of X-Men have you guys watched? Because we could take notes here. We could compare notes. You guys want to hear? You want to hear his accent?
Just for that, I will do my terrible Gambit the entire time for Remy LeBeau. Haha. I like Gambit. Gambit's cool. He looks like Ezio now, though. He looks like Assassin's Creed Gambit. Like if X-Men and Assassin's Creed like melded, this is what Gambit would look like. He literally looks like Ezio. He's got the red cape and everything.
Yep.
Because Ezio wears white. He looks like Ezio.
Yeah, Ezio has a assassin's outfit.
Well, you probably need me to be healer on this.
I like playing it.
I know you like playing it.
Well, if we can't get people in here, then I'm gonna have to play so we
fine.
can get somebody in.
That's fine. You don't need to be close up to use Rogue's powers? What do you mean? Well, Rogue has,
Rogue isn't even in the game yet.
Rogue absorbed all the powers of Captain Marvel at one point, so she had super strength. She couldn't shoot energy bolts, though. Captain Marvel is able to shoot, like, pure, things of energy, like condensed energy. And when she would fly, there would be, like, fire behind Captain Marvel when she'd fly. Rogue can fly. She has super strength. Plus, she has what makes Rogue a very dangerous mutant is on top of her super strength and all her other abilities that she absorbed permanently from Carol Danvers, she also has her regular mutant ability, which is to touch and steal people's powers. So, Rogue is an Omega mutant threat, even without Captain Marvel's powers. And what Rogue used to do is she would basically, like, she would touch other members of her team and use their powers and combine them to make herself a very powerful mutant as well. So, and they would give her permission. They'd be like, okay, we're having a hard time beating this guy. So then Rogue would touch Colossus, Cyclops, Jean, and, like, Nightcrawler, and then she'd have the powers of all the X-Men as one X-Men. So, it was pretty hardcore.
Doesn't she drains their powers when she does that?
Yes. She does drain their powers. That's why she only does it when they're knocked out. Like, if she was in the field, she would kind of be like, you know how in baseball you have, like, your regular teammates, and then you have somebody who comes in, like, and replaces somebody when they get hurt, or something like that?
Or replaces somebody to do batting, a pinch hitter.
Basically. So, when an X-Men in the comics in the 80s would get wounded, before the Carl Danvers incident, she would touch the already unconscious X-Men and steal their power and get into the fight. So that's what she would do in the field. On top of her martial arts ability and some other stuff.
Yeah, but, so Lucas, I mean, if you guys have watched a lot of the X-Men cartoon, then you guys will know, like, that's the accent Luke's doing. Because Luke is a brilliant mimic.
Aww. I had my moments. The only problem is she can't control her powers. That's the one thing that Charles Xavier feels bad about Rogue is Rogue, there's no way to really control her power of touch. You have to shut it off completely or just let it, give her gloves or something. She wears a special type of gloves and a full bodysuit so that no part of her body any part of her body that touches you, like, will drain your life force. And if you, if you're with Rogue too long, she'll kill you.
So why does Gambit like her so much?
He makes her a collar or a ring that dampens her powers so that they can have children and be a married couple. So he doesn't have to worry about her literally draining his life force.
I think that Gambit likes Rogue because he likes the challenge.
No, he likes Rogue because she's a Southern belle. He's a sucker for girls from the South.
Oh, he likes her personality.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So he thinks she's sweet.
And every chance that Rogue didn't have her powers, he would always try to kiss her in the old show. And he did. When they were on Muir Island together, he didn't hesitate to kiss her. Especially when she said she was scared because she wasn't able to use her powers to help the X-Men. She was just a timid girl and, Gambit comforted her. That was a great sequence, actually.
Wow.
I am a hopeless romantic. What do you want from me? Last night, when I went to bed, I watched Senpai.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm serious. I really like this anime. I watched, I gave it a chance like a month ago, and I was like, this show, it wasn't really doing it for me. But now, like after, I'm 3 episodes into the show now. Don't laugh at me. I'm serious. I really like this. The show is called My Awkward Senpai. And it's adorable. It's only in Japanese. They're not going to make it in English because very few dubs are of coming of age romances. Like this is she's 26, he's 29, but he's a new hire at her job.
So he tries
So
to.
she's his senpai even though he's older.
So he tries to steal a kiss all the time.
Gambit? Yeah.
Miss Deanna says, I would slap Gambit if he tried to do that to Rogue. Yeah, Rogue should give him a slap. She should be like, what are you doing, Buster?
Who did we just get this from? Somebody gave us another, Dozen R?
Well, thank you, Dozen R.
You gave us the Lady
Big
of the
Shot
Dead?
and Queen of the Dead.
Wow.
Combo bundle. Oh, all those emotes.
Wow, thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Dozen R.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
We got... Oh! Wow. We got zombie, We got zombie Scarlet Witch.
Whoa.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's what we got.
Very, very nice. Thank you. Very kind of you.
Thanks, Dozen R. Wait, does this mean we have to do a zombie Scarlet Witch showcase now?
Eventually.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, there we go. And thank you guys and gals for watching the YouTube shorts. There's a bunch of people watching YouTube shorts right now. We don't even know how to explain it, but... Well, actually, no, I do know how to explain it. When people watch the YouTube shorts, since there's a completely different algorithm on YouTube for shorts and uploads and live streams, the shorts is its own thing altogether. Last night we hit a milestone of 2,100 or 2,000 over 2,000 shorts, something like that. And then, you know, now there's 2,000 Kwings Let's Play shorts, like, on the shorts engine, which we're not shadow banned from. And when you guys are running the shorts playlist in the background, every short that I can see on our analytics has at least above, like, 20 or 30 people watching. And that's bringing in more people to watch the shorts, which is awesome. Actually, that's what we needed. It's just what we needed. Dun, 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 dun.
Awesome.
Are you coming over here to say hi, mister?
He licked my foot.
You coming over to say hi? Look at you and your little rascally ways. Come on up here. Come here. Come here.
I have a huge, speaking of rascally, I have a huge scar from Mr. Rascal.
Where did he scratch you? Because he bit my leg yesterday.
All along my leg?
Let me see.
Well, it's not a scar. I mean, this leg used to have a huge scratch.
There's no scratch there.
There was one earlier today. Well, there was. Maybe it...
I just see cute legs. I don't see any scratches.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm allowed to objectify you. You're my wife, so there's rules.
That's true.
I can't objectify other women, but you? Sorry, sweetheart.
I can see so much of Gambit in you, Luke.
Whatever.
In a good way.
Gambit's not a player either. He's loyal. He goes after one girl at a time.
Team to win this one.
Do not take the King of Thieves.
He goes after one girl at a time. Very hard. One.
Yes, he does.
It's like go big or go home.
I mean, Rogue is, Rogue's a challenge. Thieves.
Men like a challenge.
Everyone can relax. Gambit has arrived. The name is Gambit. Remember it.
You love our shorts? Thank you. It was, I don't even remember whose idea it was to film the cats. I think it was Amber. She saw something on TikTok or Instagram. She was like, we have cats. We have a camera. It's like, that's true.
Ever since 2005, they said the internet is made for cat shorts.
Cat shorts didn't exist.
Or cat videos. The internet's made for cat videos and one other
She
thing.
says she likes the way you sparkle. and I can see why.
What's the other thing?
4,
Wait, I don't want to know.
2,
Probably something dirty.
I think you know what it is.
Yeah, not safe for work content.
Hey, quick cue.
Those are the only two things on the internet really that make up the majority of the internet.
Cats and naughty bitches. Get away from me, mezzanine. Oh, I'm
Yep.
still alive. Gambit still lives. That means you're in trouble. Oh, there's another Gambit. Thank you.
That is so true, says Brick of Silent, but it was talking about just the cats thing.
Ah.
People are like, and? Amber? It's cats and one other thing. And everything else is just on the sidelines of those two things, but the internet is just made for two things.
Let us keep it at that.
Cat videos are a majority of the internet.
Well, we had two side businesses that we wanted to do a couple years ago. Number one was we were going to have a cat room when we moved into this apartment.
Yeah.
With a camera showing Zelda and Shadow their day-to-day life, a 24-hour stream every day on one separate whatever. And then the other side business was we were going to open an unboxing channel because we have all kinds of really cool collectibles and stuff like that. But the year that we were attempting that is when Kappa went into full-blown stuff and they said unboxing videos are, any type of action figures or Legos are toys and you have to do stuff accordingly, and it just wasn't worth it. Plus we were dealing with the Federal Trade Commission and other things and trying to keep our brand from going under. So we never got a chance to do that. And now there's too much restrictions on unboxing videos that there's no reason.
Yeah.
But we were planning on expanding because we're like, we have this whole YouTube gaming thing down pat. There's no reason.
Get back here, mon ami. Do not run from Gambit. You ran from Gambit. This is a problem.
So, Channing Tatum, the guy who played Duke and, of course, Gambit in the Deadpool movie, he's actually from Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's why he wanted to play Gambit so much.
Oh, wow. I do kind of... That don't sound familiar.
But Gambit is coming back, though. Gambit, Channing Tatum is going to be in the Avengers movie next year. And then supposedly he's coming back for another Deadpool movie. Because he and Ryan Reynolds are friends.
Oh, okay.
Hugh Jackman, Channing Tatum, and there was one other famous actor who's really close friends with Ryan Reynolds. And then earlier this year, James Gunn was talking about asking Ryan if he wanted to come back and do a cameo of Green Lantern, and Ryan sent him a picture with him flipping off James Gunn.
Oh my god.
It's apparently there's a sore spot with Green Lantern and Ryan Reynolds. He doesn't appreciate it when people ask him to come back and play that character because Green Lantern almost ruined his career.
Oh wow.
So if you mention Green Lantern, he just looks at you calmly and tells you where you can get off.
Oh wow, he wouldn't even come in for a cameo?
No, he wouldn't even come in for a cameo. He's he wanted him to come in for the Lantern series. Because, the Buddy Cop Green Lantern show with Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan is next year.
Oh, yeah.
So he wanted Ryan to come in and play a Green Lantern character or something like that. It wouldn't be Hal Jordan, obviously. It would be an homage to his Hal Jordan.
Yeah, it'd be a random person.
He'd be like a drill sergeant or something. You have an old Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, and then the protege is Jon Stewart in this upcoming buddy cop alien. People have said that it's going to be like Men in Black meets the Green Lantern Corps.
Oh wow!
Because you have the older, wiser kind of K character. He's not that old, but I mean he's got a touch of gray in his hair and stuff like that. That's Hal Jordan. So Hal Jordan's in his 50s, and then you have Jon Stewart, who I think is supposed to be 27 or 30. He's the new kid in the Lantern Corps or something like that.
Yeah.
Instead of making Jon Stewart the very the Marine with lots of training and experience, he's the new kid. So they're
Yeah,
combining elements of like Kyle
Will
Rayner and
Smith
some of the younger.
Yeah, I gotcha. That makes sense. I mean, Men in Black was such a successful
How dare you eat
movie.
the king of tea?
Makes sense that you completely remix and copy it, and then just make it a Green Lantern movie.
Do not eat the king of tea. King of tea.
I forgot. Yeah, I know that was Will Smith, and then Will Smith starred with
Tommy Lee Jones.
Oh yeah.
You forgot Kay? Wow.
I know who Kay is. I just don't know the actor's name.
Tommy Lee. Everyone can relax. Gambit. There we go. Woman.
So apparently, I can't. There's a French word that I shouldn't say anymore because it means holy God. So, and well, yeah, I mean it's blasphemous. I didn't know, but it's a French word, and I've been whenever I do my French like accent for Let's Play sometimes as I was doing that voice, and somebody told me last night, you do realize what that means, right? It's like, no.
Actually, every time you say, like, I'm probably gonna be offended. People are gonna be offended, but if you say, like, the English word bloody, it refers to the blood of Christ, so it's actually technically sort of swearing.
Mm-hmm.
And if you say sacre bleu, it's sacred blood, which is the blood of Christ. So both of those are actually talking about the blood of Christ. So
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's hard to know, like, what it's
Well, I mean, I
about.
went through my whole life without knowing because every French, the French accents that I do is derived from cartoons growing up, and you know, you had characters saying those things on you know, morning television.
I mean, it's like, it all depends on what people, like, say is a swear word. Like, honestly, it depends. Like, I think that there are some people may consider it one and some people may not. Like, for me, like, if somebody says, like, oh man, someone's gonna get really angry at me at this point. Like, if somebody says, like, Holy Mother of God, for me, it's not really a swear word because you're not calling on God's name. But for other people, it would be a swear word. So, like, some people consider that swearing and some people don't. So, I mean...
Well, I loved Men in Black. That's why Misty and I remember, like, characters and things so well.
I mean, the best thing you can do is just respect everyone's, you know, opinion. I mean, no matter what you do in life, you're gonna be doing something that offends people. As long as, for me, I feel like if you yourself feel convicted that it's wrong and it's hurting God, then you probably shouldn't do it. But if you don't feel there's anything wrong with it, then, you know, you should do it. If you don't, you know. But, you know.
Alright, there we go. Next up is Squirrel Girl.
I'm sorry, I'll get my glass. I am always sorry. Get my long pants. Oh my word, says Alpha. Yeah, that's a better one. People used to have different phrases instead of calling on the name of God for an expletive. Exactly, Alpha. Like, people used to say, like, Great Scott, or Oh my word, or Holy moly.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, no, Uncle Howdy, that would be blasphemous. Like, that would be offensive if you said that to a religious person.
Oh,
if
yeah,
said,
you can't say, because that's the name of God.
Yeah.
Because Jesus is God's name, you can't use it as an expletive. That's a swear.
Yeah, that would be, a Catholic or a Christian would be very offended if you Yep. Even an agnostic probably wouldn't appreciate it. They'd be like,
Well, it's funny, in my school, my friend, one of my best friends was an atheist, and my friend used to always have discussions with me about if God exists, and I was like, why do you call on God's name every time you know, like, drop a pencil, or, you know, like, or something bad happens in your life, you swear and you say, you know, you call on God's name. And she's like, it's just an expression. I was like, not to me, it isn't. I was like, how did the expression start? It started because the whole world believed in God at one point. A lot of them. Like, did you know that that our crowns of most of our countries, did you know that before Christianity was a thing, that people used to have crowns that were more dome-shaped? And after the world was Christianized, the crowns with, like, little, like, that look like, you know, you go to Burger King and it looks like a crown that has little spikes on it? That's actually based off of the crown of thorns of Jesus. Every king of every country wanted to be like Jesus. And they were showing homage to him by making their crown look like a crown of thorns. That's why most of the crowns in most countries have spikes on them, because they're paying homage to God.
Wait, why are these guys all blacked out? It means I have to go in with the same team again, almost. Wow. Okay. Or does that just mean they're in matches?
Oh, I know that, Miss Amber. I saw it. Yeah, definitely, Miss Deanna. Yeah, that just shows how big an influence Christianity has had over the world. You wouldn't believe it, but if you look at how many countries have a spiky crown, that just shows how many countries were influenced by that. And there's countries even that don't have a spiky crown that are influenced by God. I'm gonna get my glasses.
Can you grab me another brisk iced tea, please? From the one by the window.
Oh,
I didn't even do that much. Oh, console restrictions work both ways? Ah. That's a bummer. So sometimes we'll have to turn off console restriction in order to play with other people. I have a little bit of a headache tonight, so I'm having some brisk. Just a little bit of brisk, not too much. Yeah, I mean, it is. The best-selling book of all time is the Bible, that's true. That is correct. Although I think if one were to invest money, the best thing that you could probably invest money in would be toothpaste. Toothpaste has been around for forever. Everybody needs toothpaste. And usually you don't have to worry about the toothpaste industry going under, so it's a safe investment, and it's an investment that will grow eventually. Also, that movie Blast for the Past, like, really kind of sealed the deal on that. The main character's family had shares in Colgate, and when Colgate became super popular, they ended up becoming like billionaires. Of course, they were under the ground for like 30 years, but... Did you come home with your glasses on? Did you come home with your glasses on, honey? Okay. Check your uniform. It's in the cubby upstairs in the hallway. Maybe your glasses are in there. Okay. Okay, then, check, around there. Okay. It was team 2? You found them?
Okay, mon amis, let us continue with Gambit, King of Thieves. He looks like Ezio.
Aw, you covered them legs. Not the same.
It's because you're becoming too more like Gambit.
Still cute little bare feet though. That's an accordion, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And this was from the new batch of Brisk Ice Tea, right? The one by the
Pick
window?
your
Yeah,
hero.
you told me to get the
I'm
one
not
by the
judging.
window.
Make way for the King of Thieves.
King of Thieves. That's how you said it. King of Thieves. Is it true that we could have gotten a 3DS version of Arkham Asylum? You would have gotten a Wii version of Arkham Asylum. I don't know about 3DS. And basically what Reggie wanted, the story goes, Reggie Fils-Aimé said in an interview many, many years ago that he wanted Batman, after seeing how well Batman Arkham Asylum was on PS3 and playing it on PS3, he wanted a Nintendo version.
30 seconds
Now,
before you
unfortunately,
attack. Get
the
ready.
Nintendo Wii couldn't handle what Arkham Asylum was, so what they had was, I believe it was Red Fly Studios, the people behind the Mushroom Men, and some other games. I don't remember all the games they did, but Red Fly, I believe, was the studio that they worked with with Rocksteady, and they were making their own like Arkham game that was set in Gotham City. And Batman was scaling rooftops and fighting people. There's a pre-beta build of the game, or pre-alpha or whatever. There's footage that you can find of Batman running on rooftops. It would have been an all-new story, and it would have been set in the Arkham universe. And I believe Paul Dini was going to write a short thing. It was going to be a linear thing, though. There would be no free roaming, really. Kind of like the linear rooftop exploring in Batman Dark Tomorrow. It was a real thing. And then what happened was, when Reggie realized, and Nintendo, that the game is, for one, going to be very expensive to make on the Wii, and some other things, they were like, you know, we're going to scrap that idea, but we're going to come back to that. And then he made sure that they got a enhanced port of Arkham City with all the trimmings for the Wii U. So Reggie is actually a big Batman fan, which is why we got Batman stuff on the Wii and the Wii U. Because we did get an exclusive Batman game for the Wii. It was Batman Brave and the Bold by Way Forward. So Reggie didn't give up wanting to have an exclusive Batman game. It's just it was the Arkham thing wasn't going to work. So he had, I believe he contacted Way Forward, and they worked on Brave and the Bold. And Brave and the Bold appeared both on the DS and the Wii.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of cool when a CEO is a big fan of something they really want it. Like, Reggie knew the Arkham series was going to be the next Assassin's Creed. So he wanted it. He wanted it for Nintendo audiences.
No, it could have been the next Assassin's Creed.
And I'm just going to be completely honest, one of my favorite versions of Arkham City is the Wii U version. I really like the Wii U version.
I liked the cool gloves and the cool look to it.
As well as the immersion from the U-Pad was actually very well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You thought you got rid of me?
Honestly, like, I mean, even though Assassin's Creed is kind of like, it's like watered down Kool-Aid. Each Each new installment is like a watered down version of the last one. They have continued to keep putting it out. Like, it's like Power Rangers. They just keep putting out new seasons. Like, it's like, well, some of them are better than others. It's like Assassin's Creed. They just keep putting out new games. They keep going. And honestly, you have to give handed to them. At least they keep going. They didn't stop like Arkham did, where they just cold stopped. They didn't even try. At least Assassin's Creed is trying. Even though they're failing miserably with most of their games, it's like, at least they're trying.
Well, the Arkham thing, it's not fully, like, the developer's fault. It's also Warner Brothers' fault.
Time to see if your boy
Like, they
Gambit
say,
can
like,
steal
there's
us
that
a win.
phrase where they say, learn by doing. Like, that's I thought that was the most interesting thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, well, how will I know how to do this? Like, I'm too afraid to
30
try
seconds
this. It's
before
like,
you
learn by
attack.
doing. It's
Get
like,
ready.
you learn as you're doing it.
Okay, I'm going to interrupt you real
Thought
quick.
you were
So,
goner after the
the
vampires
reason
passed
why
by
Arkham
Kingsville
disappeared for
Bridge.
10 years,
Oh, me
a
too.
lot of that has
You'll
to
never
do
guess
with
who
the
showed up
fault
to save
of
the
Warner Brothers themselves.
No way.
So Warner Brothers was in the process of
from
several
there.
mergers
I'll tell you
over the
about it
past
sometime.
10 years. And there was Arkham games that were in development. Every time there was a type of merger and the movies weren't doing well, the new owners of Warner Brothers canceled the Batman games in development. There were 3 Batman games that were canceled that were in development after 2015.
Yeah,
So-
it's too bad that Batman was, like, always tied to how the movies were doing. Like, it would have been interesting if it was its own separate thing, completely different than the movie.
So when Justice League didn't do well, they were planning on making there was an in-development sequel to Arkham Origins, which later became Arkham Shadow from another company. But you had a Batman and Robin sequel to Arkham Origins, and it would have been like Robin Year One, and they were doing a lot of the principal work with that, and then that game became something else. That game became Gotham Knights.
No, we had to wait until the meta people actually made a decent Arkham game.
Yeah, well, they started work on their game in 2022, like after like a couple of years of like failed projects and stuff like that. So while they were working on the Batman and Robin sequel or whatever for Arkham Origins, like WB Games Montreal, which a lot of that ended up becoming the basis of the basis of Gotham Knights a little bit. It was kind of a similar process, but not really, because you know you were going to get to play as Robin, massive open world, and all this other stuff. They're like, okay, well that didn't work, so we're going to take some of those ideas that we had, and we're going to incorporate that into whatever. Then you had, they were working on another side game after that, like before Gotham Knights. There was one of them. They were working on the Damian Wayne Batman game, which was huge. It was a big deal. And they were like, okay, so we're going to take most of the ideas that we had with this. We're going to keep Gotham the same size that it was in Arkham Knight. And we're just going to bring in the Damian Wayne thing. And they got really far with the Damian Wayne. They contacted Josh Keaton, who was the Spectacular Spider-Man. And he was going to be the voice of Damian. And then they were somehow going to bring Bruce Wayne back. And of course, Kevin was going to reprise his role. But they didn't know, you know, how everything would go like that. Because the story hadn't been, you know, finished yet.
Yeah.
With Arkham Knight, they haven't seen how it had happened. So they had the whole Damian Wayne thing going, and they had the voice actors, they had the story, everything was good to go, and they had some early alpha footage of like Batman driving a Batcycle, because the Batcycle was going to be the big thing. And then that game, so they took 2 ideas from the canceled Batman and Robin game and the canceled Damian game, and that's when WB Games Montreal was like, okay, that's Gotham Knights. We're done with that. Here we go. We're just going to incorporate the bike mechanics and a lot of stuff that we were doing with Damian. We're going to make the game less like neon, or less, you know, futuristic, and we're just going to go with like a neon metropolis type thing. And that's how you got Gotham Knights, basically. Because the motorcycle traversal, that was in Gotham Knights, obviously, but that also was how Damian was going to get around Gotham City.
Oh, so that they took a lot of the ideas from the Damian game and
Right.
made it into Gotham Knights.
But the second owner of Warner Brothers, which they went by the name of WB Games, they called themselves Warner Media. So Warner Media was the big bad that basically canceled 2 Batman games that were in development. And And they were like, okay, because we're not going to get the Ben Affleck Batman movie, and we're not going to get the Justice League. Everything's changing, so we need to change up the project. Rocksteady, I don't remember if they were working on a Batman game. I don't believe so. But then what happened with that is they're like, okay, we're going to end up doing the Suicide Squad that the WB Games Montreal people were going to do, and we're just going to, we're going to have that be our sequel or whatever to Batman. And a lot of people don't realize this. One of the first games that Rocksteady ever made was a shooter. It was not Batman.
Oh,
so
wow.
they went back to their core roots, which was making a shooting game. Except instead of it being a first-person shooter, it was now a third-person shooter, but basically. So they went back to their roots for that, but they wanted to incorporate it into the world of Gotham, or whatever. But of course, we know that failed miserably. And the WB Games Montreal people were like, okay, we had 2 failed Batman projects, and we just combined the 2 ideas of Robin Free Roam and the motorcycle, and boom, there you go. So you got the Damian Wayne game, you got the Batman and Robin, supposed sequel to Arkham Origins,
Yeah.
and they just combined that into Gotham Knights, and that's why people are like, well, some aspects of Gotham Knights was good. It's like, well, yeah, because those are original ideas from previous games that were canceled. But the problem is with Warner Media, when they came in and they canceled a bunch of stuff, they were very dependent on what was going on with the movies. Like, if things weren't going well with the movies and on TV, they would cancel that stuff in a heartbeat. So then when you had the next transition, there was some other Batman stuff in development that never happened, or some ideas floating around, because there was no way that Warner Brothers was going to be like, okay, we're just going to sit on this franchise for 10 years and not do anything with it. It's not what happened. There were other ideas and pitches that were happening, but the problem is you had 2 different companies. You had Warner Media, which then became Warner Discovery, and as soon as what's-his-name, Zaslav, got into power, he's like, we need to get a new Batman game going ASAP, and that's how Arkham Shadows happened. But the problem is,
good for
it
him.
takes years to make a new Batman game. So Arkham Shadows began at the beginning of 2022, and it was greenlit at the end of 2021. Like, Zaslav and his team, they said, yeah, go for it. But they were like, I don't know if it originally was going to be on VR or not. I don't know. I've talked to the team. Nobody really remembers specifically if it was designed specifically for Meta or this was going to be a console thing. Like, they got a deal with Meta, they ran with it. Zaslav, got a good deal for Facebook/Meta, and that's how the Batman game happened. But they greenlit it as quickly as possible, but the development took a long time. Now, if this was a real console game, the development of that Batman game would have been 3 or 4 years. Because it was a shorter VR game, the game came out in 2024, so it was only in development for a little bit. And that had to do with the fact that it was a VR game. But they didn't sit on the license. When you have all these different mergers come in, things that are in development, that are being worked on, like TV shows, movies, if they're not really far along in development, the new guy who comes in, they cancel it. So the story of the 10 years of Arkham being gone, there was a lot more going on behind the surface, and as soon as Zaslav came in, the only good thing that I think he did, because he didn't gut DC, he didn't do any of that. The only good stuff he did was he greenlit the return of the Arkham franchise. And now you have the potential problem of all these other games that are in development right now. There's a new buyer that's interested in Warner Brothers again, when they've been bought and sold over the past 15 years.
What's the Return to Arkham series?
Return to Arkham series, that was a very easy port that happened after Arkham Knight.
Oh.
It was the Return to Arkham was Arkham Asylum and Arkham Asylum and Arkham City being redone, and that was a very easy port for them to do after Arkham Knight. I think it was a year and a half after Arkham Knight wrapped up. So I think it came out 2017. I don't really count that because it's a port,
Yeah, I guess.
And ports don't take a long time.
Well, I'm gonna try to get Zelda some food.
Okay.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man! Once I get you stuck,
Thank you for telling me all that stuff.
Yeah, no problem. But that's why, just audience in general, I always get annoyed with people they're like, well, it was purposely 10 years without Batman. No, they tried. They tried to give us Batman. They tried to give us Lego games. A lot of this has to do with the fact that, there's all this stuff going on behind the scenes that we don't know about.
think you're very cute.
I have my moments. We're gonna go off console for a little bit, guys. I know we're gonna run into tryhards, but I want other people to be able to play as well. Like if we're limiting it to console only, there are people that would love to play that can't because, you know, they don't have a PS5. So we're gonna give those people an opportunity, you know what I mean? If they would like to play. Well, yeah, Marvel's been cranking stuff out because they were bought by Disney back in 2012. So, they haven't had to worry about, like, all the problems. Like, they're, you know, they've been consistently putting out products, both good and bad, without any problems because they don't have the problems that Warner Brothers does, where Warner Brothers gets bought and sold all the time. There's always nasty things that happen with mergers of companies, like people lose their jobs, games and shows in development get the axe because the new management coming in aren't too keen on it. They're like, I have a different idea that I want to do with this. There's a lot of things that happen with that. Whereas if you have the same owner, right, then you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. If everything is happening with the same thing, you don't need to worry about it. Squirmy kitty. Yeah.
You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Make way for the King of Thieves.
Yeah, it's a full team. We're probably going to lose, but that way we can get as many people as possible to play. But that's the thing that you have to always, like, factor in. In Warner Brothers, a lot of their problems has to do with management issues. Like, it always sucks, but that's what happens. When a new team comes in, they have new ideas. That's why we didn't get the Henry Cavill Superman thing, is because the deal with James Gunn finalized, and we never got the Rock versus Superman movie because they didn't want to go that direction. James Gunn had his own vision for DC, and Henry Cavill's Superman didn't play a role in that. Which he's kind of probably kicking himself in the head now because Henry Cavill's a more popular Superman than David Cornsweet. He's a more marketable Superman too, you know? I don't think David is a bad guy, and I don't think he's a wrong pick for Superman, but I think that they should have announced a long time ago that Henry Cavill would be back as an Elseworld Superman or something, because they divided their audience and nothing's really happening. Because here's the thing, like DC people, they like dark storytelling because most DC fans are not young. Most DC fans are anywhere between the ages of 20 to like 50. And most of those people grew up with very dark, bleak stuff. Because, you know, they're the survivors of 9/11, and when they were kids they saw the Challenger explode. So dark storytelling, it's in our nature for people who are my age, and you know. Whereas the next generation, like Generation A and B, they haven't had a really, aside from like a bunch of like first world problem issues, they haven't faced a lot of bad things yet. There hasn't been a lot of terrible wars. Like they were born after the war in Iraq. They were born after like all the other stuff. And that's why a lot of them while out and burn stuff to the ground, is because they haven't actually had to experience hardship. They've heard about hardships from other people, but they themselves live very sheltered and cozy lives. But they create problems for the other generations because they're a bunch of whiny, entitled brats, basically. You know, they protest everything whenever they feel like it because they've never actually... None of them have gone to war. None of them have had to deal with a terrorist attack in their own country. None of that stuff. They've had to deal with a couple school shootings or whatever, but they didn't grow up with a theater being gunned down or any of that stuff. You know, they haven't actually experienced the world at its worst. They just see everything is all like wine and roses and, you know, happy and whatever. So when they want their superheroes to reflect that kind of atmosphere for them, which is why, to them, they believe both Batman and Superman need to be lighthearted. And that's why the current Batman run, he's wearing all blue now, and he's, you know, being more optimistic and whatever. Like, they're trying to recreate the Silver Age in comics, which may or may not end up working, I don't know. But it's just, everybody else is kind of like, hey, you know, we grew up with actual hardships, actual problems. School shootings, all this other stuff. And school shootings still happen today, but like the 90s, the late 90s with Columbine, that's what set everybody into Spookville and the church stuff, all that stuff.
It kind of reminds... Yeah, never mind.
To nowadays, it's like, it's just like assumed that a horrible tragedy is going to happen, that people don't freak out about it as much anymore. They even argue with each other on social media. They're like, oh, this happened again, nobody cares. Whereas our generation, we were molded by that stuff. Like, that was horrific. You know, people came together and they helped people out. Like, they helped the victims of the families. They did all kinds of stuff. Nowadays, you have people, when this stuff happens, they're just pointing blame at one another. They're not actually coming together or finding solutions. They just yell and scream at each other. Right.
It kind of reminds me of, like, what you were saying, where one generation actually experienced it. The other generation is just talking smack and acting like they're cool, but in reality they never actually experienced anything that was really bad. Kind of reminds me of when Megan Fox decided to call Steven Spielberg a Yahtzee when he's Jewish,
Yeah.
and some of his family died in the concentration camps, and literally in the World War II, because they were Jewish, and she's calling him a Yahtzee. That's when he fired her. And it's just, it's completely two different generations. It's like one generation of people that actually experience hardship versus another generation that just throws terms around from history when they've never experienced the actual thing.
Well, what they do is they kind of create their own hardships through like political discourse, but that's not
for everyone else.
That's not the same as actually going to war. That's not the same as seeing the Twin Towers fall.
They burn businesses down. They burn the streets down. They throw pipe bombs at people. They drag people out of their cars and beat them up. They create random chaos, like they're a bunch of jokers.
Well, they're anarchists.
And then they're like, oh, look at, we're having hardships. It's like, right, you're doing it.
But you're creating the hardships, exactly.
You are literally causing it.
Yeah.
Like, if you just stayed inside your house and got a job, then there wouldn't be a hardship.
Right, and a lot of them don't want to get jobs because they feel like working 9 to 5 is a bad thing. Yeah, I've seen TikTok, but the thing is, what people don't understand, DC thrives with dark storytelling because that's what DC is. DC is a dark world. When you try to brighten up other characters besides Superman, it doesn't work because that's not how these characters were designed. Even when Batman first came out in the 1930s, like 1939, he was a very dark character.
Yeah, what's sad is, like, the 90s generation and stuff, we were hit with tragedy when there were no generation of people who didn't want to work. There was no TikTok generation of people crying and being like, I don't want to do a 9 to 5 job because I feel like it's cramping my style, and I feel like this is just, you know, encroaching on my freedom. It's like, well, don't you live with your parents? Don't you think their freedom is encroached on when they have to pay for you to live there? Like, what in the world? Like, do you not understand how reality works? Like, the first time I had to work hard, I realized how much You know, I was thankful for my parents working every day so I could have food.
But the thing is with
Like,
Marvel,
why can't this generation realize that their parents took care of them like, for so many years? If they think working is hard, they should be thankful.
Marvel has always had a lighter tone, going all the way back to like their inception in the 60s. Like their characters always had brighter costumes. Yes, they had like things that they dealt with that became darker in the 1970s and 80s, but even in the 90s they shifted away from dark storytelling and they went towards more, because it didn't work. They tried doing the Clone Saga, they tried doing a bunch of like pretty intense stuff. Every once in a while they have a pretty like dark storyline like Marvel Zombies or Civil War or something, but for the most part Marvel Comics, it has a lot more levity, and it has like a tonal shift, like where it's a lot. The colors are brighter. The characters, like, you know, they're drawn in a way that they look more like lighter. Whereas DC characters, like everything is just drawn like very dark. Outside of like some very bright characters like Flash and Superman and stuff like that. But when you
Flash
try,
is definitely an exception.
when you try to take a brand that is known for its, I wouldn't say edginess, but it's more like dark humor and dark aesthetic and stuff like that, which is DC. And DC, again, has been like that since the 70s and all that other stuff. And you try to make it like your competitor, you know, there's going to be a clash that happens. And then when you try to make your movies, like, I would say the Superman movie was good, but it felt too much like a Marvel movie to me.
Yeah, like, I was saying this on another video. When people were asking me, do you think that they should do a 10-year plan? I said, no, because I think that DC needs to do their own thing. I don't think they should copy Marvel at all, because every time they try to copy Marvel, they're ruining themselves. I don't know if you can hear me, because he's distracted.
I'm always distracted. I have ADD. It's never going to change.
I know, but I don't know if you can hear me.
I hear you fine.
But, like, I just don't think that James Gunn or anyone, or Snyder or anyone should do a 10-year plan, because it's just not gonna work. I said what I think DC should do, no matter who it's, James Gunn or Snyder, whoever is doing it. I said number one, they should just stick with one person, even if it's the person that's not as good. Like, someone was like, should they just switch over to Snyder? I was like, no, because they've already started back with James Gunn. They might as well see that through, because we already switched over. Like, I don't want to keep going back and forth, but secondly, even though I prefer Snyder, but I'd rather just stick with one of them. But secondly, like, it's like DC, like, builds movie upon movie upon movie. Like, you have one great movie, like, you know, like Batman Begins, and then you build a second movie onto that. So I really think like what they should have done was just focus on one great saga at a time, you know, one great movie at a time, and build upon that, because I don't think the 10-year plan is going to work for them, because for Marvel it's like, it's kind of like fill in the blanks. It's like you just like write some colorful characters in, and you write some campy dialogue, and you're done. Whereas DC, I said it has to have meaning. It has to literally shake you to your soul, the movie, to the point where you are like coming out of the theater like, wow. Like, and you can't do that if you have a 10-year plan. You need to do one solid, amazing movie after another, and you have to build upon the success of each movie.
The problem with a 10-year plan, too, especially if you're, like, Warner Brothers, they shouldn't be doing the 10-year thing, because they're probably going to be bought and sold so many times over before the 10 years is up. Like, now you've got Paramount and Netflix, and now you have the Middle East and another company that are interested in buying out Warner Brothers. You don't think those guys have a different plan? Like, two of the people interested in buying Warner Brothers want to restore the Snyderverse. So that means James Gunn's thing is just going to disappear anyway. You only have two companies out of the 5 that are trying to buy Warner Brothers that are interested in what James Gunn is doing, because they want to make money. And they see Snyder and that other stuff as a means for them making profits. Because the Superman movie didn't do that well as it didn't sell merchandise. It didn't have like a lot of good sales when it came to digital and Blu-ray distribution. Like, all these are a factor.
I do think that, like I was talking about on another video when someone was asking me about this, that like I feel that DC movies are moral commentary on society about right and wrong. And like
Good and evil.
Philosophical questions about good and evil, exactly. Whereas Marvel movies are like, oh, some fun stuff happened and we jumped around in costumes and then we saved the day. Like the Powerpuff Girls. So there is no moral lesson. There is no, like, you know, earth-shattering conclusion that makes you shake into your core where you realize, oh my gosh, like, this made me think, this made me realize, you know, something about morality and right and wrong. But that's what DC movies are. They make you think, they make you feel. Whereas Marvel movies are just jumping around, and it's just a movie with a lot of flash. And I'm not allowed to say the rest of it because people will get super angry at me. But in reality, Marvel movies isn't really about who's right or wrong. It's about this happened, and we came in and we did our job. We were paid by, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. and we took care of it, and, you know, we played some cool music at the exit, and we had a flashy movie.
Marvel is about, like, for the most part, they don't really draw the line between good and evil. Good and evil is relative. Like, it's kind of like anime sometimes, where they, where they show both sides. They show both sides of the good and evil aspect, and then they kind of, like, make a line in the middle. And that's what they do in anime. In DC is very distinctive between the battle of good versus evil. Joker is a very happy individual, but he's a sinister, evil bad guy. Batman is a guy who's all, you know, dresses in dark clothing, and he does villainous methods, but he's the hero.
Yeah, there's a lot of commentary in most DC movies about why it's being done. Why are you doing this? Alfred always asks Batman in almost every Batman movie, why are you doing this, Master Wayne? You know, you don't need to push yourself like this. And he always explains to Alfred why he's doing it. In almost every movie, he did it in the Matt Reeves one, where he sat there and explained his reasoning, why he was pushing himself. And in the BVS movie, Batman explained to Alfred why he was doing it. Because he said, you know, he has to think of that as an absolute certainty if there's even 1% chance that, you know, Superman. So it's the morality, like, question of, like, why are you doing this, you know? But, yeah, exactly, like, yeah, it's...
Elvin needs to get downstairs.
Odds always be in my favor.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
She keeps going back to her door.
Howdy.
Hey, Tony, are we gonna fix all this?
But yeah, that's the problem I have with stuff, guys and gals. It's like, I don't know what is going to go on with DC, so it's hard for me to get hyped about what their plans are until we find out who's going to be the owner. Because everything could literally change overnight, just like what happened to Henry Cavill and The Rock. Like, literally, they were making plans for years. Henry Cavill was going to do a Superman versus The Rock movie, and then he was going to do a team-up with Shazam, based on a popular comic book and animated movie. And then we were going to get more, you know, more Batman stuff, more Wonder Woman, and all that stuff, like, literally changed overnight. James Gunn didn't even have a plan for incorporating Wonder Woman until around the year 2028. So, you know, the only character he'd be focusing on would be Superman and building up Superman's mythos, which I think is the right direction to go. But that's the same direction that Henry Cavill was going. He was going to focus on a more optimistic Superman because we saw his, you know, his origin and how things were dark and bleak, and he was going to make Superman more optimistic, and, you know, especially after coming back to life and all this other stuff, we were going to see a different version of Henry's Superman. But all these plans are great and everything, but until you know who your owner is going to be, they have plans too. They have their own visions.
I mean, if you think about it, even think about some of the dialogue written into some of the Avengers movies, where people like, you know, Captain America or Thor or Iron Man or any of the Avengers will ask, you know, oh my gosh, what is his name? Eye Patch Man. Oh my god.
Fury?
Yeah, Nick Fury. So they'll ask Nick Fury, like, why are we being sent in here? So instead of a moral, like, lesson, he'll be like, well, they want us to take these people out, and there's nobody that's stronger enough than us. and this is just the way the country wants it. There's literally no moral reason why they're doing it. They don't give a moral explanation. It's just we're being paid to do this. That's literally the answer in most of the films. So compare that to Batman brooding over hours on end in the dark, going, "What should I do? I feel like I need to do the right thing no matter what." Complete contrast. You know what I mean? One is somebody's doing it because it's a right thing, even if it kills them, even if they're getting rid of all their savings. They're literally pushing themselves to the extreme to do the right thing. The other people are like, well, we're being paid, so this is what's happening. Two completely different reasons.
Yeah, the Justice League is actually not paid by the government. The Avengers are a government agency. In a sense, they work for the U.S. government. The the Justice League is an international group that I think Bruce Wayne pays them. That's about it.
Yeah, but I would also have to I believe that many of them are doing it volunteer.
It seemed like that in the show that Dwayne McDuffie was writing, yeah.
I believe they're doing it volunteer. Like, look at, Bruce Wayne helps pay the expenses of it, but they're doing it mostly volunteer. Like, look at John Jones, for instance. There's no way you could pay him enough money to sit there at that tower 24/7 watching everything. He's doing it because most of the Justice Leaguers are doing it because they feel moral conviction.
Correct.
Because look at one of the DC characters that doesn't help a lot, and he's just off doing his own thing all the time, which is, who's that guy who time travels all the time and doesn't care about anybody but himself, basically?
Booster Gold?
Yeah, like, he doesn't really help that much, except for once in a while. Like, if he has he has something in it for him.
Oh, somebody came up behind me, jeez. Yeah.
And then, of course, you have other people that they have to convince through just discussing with them why it's so important that they have to go out of their way. Like, for instance, oh my gosh, the guy with the helmet, man.
Who are you talking
They
about?
always go to him for help in the Justice League when they've hit a brick wall and they don't know what to do.
Are you talking about Dr. Fate?
Yes.
Why'd you call him Helmet Man?
Because I couldn't remember his name.
I don't remember Dr. Fate.
There's so many characters. Yeah, Dr. Fate, like, he's not, like, helping them on the weekends or whatever. Like, they have to literally convince him to, like, that it's worth the time taken away from his other duties that he goes and helps.
Well, I mean, he's literally protecting the realm, so, I mean, he's kind of like Raiden in a way.
That's interesting, yeah.
Well, he is. He's protecting the dimensional plane of reality, like, all the time from his fortress.
You know who is kind of like a DC character in the Marvel verse? If you could, like, I think,
The most DC-like person in the Marvel Universe is a toss between Wolverine and Spider-Man.
yeah, but I would also say, Doctor Strange is kind of like a DC character.
Kind of.
He sits there, he's kind of like Dr. Fate, he sits there protecting everyone. There's no way anyone's paying him to do that. He's literally doing it because he feels like he needs to. So he's a DC character in a way. There's no way Nick Fury is paying him. I don't believe so. He's doing that volunteer.
Yep. Yep.
Anyways.
So that's why, you know, that's why things have always been, there needs to be a distinction because both what Marvel and DC do separately, and they make it a little bit different, is how you appeal to their types of audience. But DC, at its core, it's darkness. Darkness versus light. That's what it is. And I've seen more and more DC over the past, like, 15 years. The reason why they've been struggling so much is they keep trying to incorporate Marvel way of doing things, and it doesn't work for DC because its core identity, its DNA, is darkness.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know what. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I was just thinking about. It's just like, I feel like people would like DC stuff or older because it's the idea that you just keep plugging away and doing the right thing no matter if you get a reward or not. just how life is. You have to keep
But Marvel
doing the right thing.
Marvel has always primarily been a social justice type comic book, like always. They started with like good social justice, which was like during the 60s and things like that. You know, like stopping segregation and explaining racism and all that other stuff. But they've gone full-blown like the other way with modern social justice, which we know is insane. But DC has always been kind of the balance of things, like explaining there's evil in the world, there's darkness, there's terrorists, there's all this other stuff. But now they don't even mention terrorism. Like, all they're doing is an echo chamber for what Twitter says, like, where they go against white supremacy and, like, all this other, like, made-up villainy that they're basically making enemies of white people, like, all the time.
I
Like,
felt, yeah, I
it's
felt,
true, though. That's what they're doing. They've become, instead of a company that is balanced, that deals with, you know, real villains in the world, like terrorism and all this other stuff, they're making up boogeymen that people on Twitter and Blue Sky and all these other people talk about all the time.
I think
It's true, though.
what DC did best, like in the animated series, talking about some of the, which was based on some of the best years of comics. Like, I think that DC isn't afraid to go into the darkness and deal with the reality, like the blunt reality of life.
They used to be.
And I thought one of the best, like, episodes of the animated series that kind of dealt with that was the one in which Batman went overboard and was kind of like messing with somebody. Like, he was interrogating a thug.
He always messes with people.
I know, he was interrogating this thug, and that was the episode in which Nightwing basically was super angry at him, or like told him, like, what are you doing? Like, Batman noticed there was a kid there at some point. I remember in that episode.
Okay, you're doing this all wrong.
Okay, so I got messed up.
The episode that you're talking about showed the differences between how Batman and Dick Grayson deal with crime fighting. Batman was desperately trying to find the Joker, and the man who was the lookout, who wasn't as evil as the other people, but he worked for the Joker, ran back home. Robin trailed him. Batman was trailing Robin. And the man went home to his son and his wife. Batman comes crashing through the window and starts beating the stuffing out of the guy in front of his son.
Yeah.
And Dick Grayson is not okay with that. He's like, I think you're crossing a line here, Batman, because we shouldn't be doing this in front of his family.
Right.
And then Batman and Robin end up having a fight because, like I said, they have two different ways of fighting crime. Batman, once he's in mission mode, it doesn't matter who gets in his way. If it's a child, if it's whatever, he's going to do whatever he can to instill his reasoning of justice. He's blinded by it. Also, he knows the longer Joker is out on the streets, the more people will die.
Yeah.
So his priority is to get the information and get out. Robin doesn't want to make innocent people, like, the family is not criminals. The family is related to a criminal.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Batman is wilding out and beating up this guy in front of his wife and kids, you know, that causes a problem. And what I hate about people today, like a lot of generations, is they're like, well, Batman would never do this kind of stuff. You show them clips of what, and they're like, well, that's what Batman was like then. Batman doesn't do that stuff now. But it's like Batman needs to do that stuff because that is Batman.
That is the character. That is the character. Like, it's dealing with reality. Like, the cold, hard reality of there's a murderer on the loose and you have to interrogate people to get the answer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's Detective Comics. The guy was, like, basically a police, in a way, police officer with a cape.
Not really. Batman bends the law all the time. Like, he believes in justice and he believes in law and order, but he doesn't believe in the structure of, like, law enforcement with the police. Like, he butts heads with the police all the time. He's not a talking point of the whole, you know, police brutality thing, like, blown out of proportions that, you know, the left talks about all the time. But, which he echoes now in comic books. Like, he always, like, monologues about, like, how police are evil and all that nonsense.
Except he interrogates people, too, even worse.
Right. It's hypocrisy. But the thing is, like, he's never been a quote-unquote team player. When Dick Grayson became Batman, like, he did not disable the security cameras and he left evidence for the police to do their job. Bruce has always, since the 30s, if he's in the middle of an investigation, he's going to gather whatever evidence, and he's not going to leave anything for the police other than bodies to pick up and arrest. Like, he's not a team player when it comes to law enforcement. He never has been. So that aspect of the character is correct. But him, like, monologuing and saying all this nonsense, that's not his character. But what Dick Grayson would have done when that person was being beaten up, he would have back-grappled the criminal away from the family and, you know, knocked the stuffing of him outside, like, away from the family. It's not like he was going to be like, it's wrong to interrogate him. No. Dick would have removed the guy from the situation with his family so his family wouldn't have to witness the interrogation.
Right.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
The interrogation still would have happened. It just wouldn't happen in front of the wife and son.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
that's the difference
what I
between
think is kind of interesting. It showcases, like, the kind of stories that DC talks about, because they're not afraid to actually talk about, like, this is reality. Whereas I feel like Marvel is always dancing around the issue. They're always like, well, Spider-Man's gonna save someone, and turns out that nobody died, and everything was very easy and clean, and there was no problems. Whereas DC deals with the reality of that life isn't easy and clean. Real bad things get messy when you have to try to interrogate people and try to catch a criminal. It's gonna get very messy. It's not gonna get pleasant.
The differences between DC and Marvel. Marvel has always been very careful about who they, like, perceive as a villain. DC has always been, like, especially in Batman comics, if you're looting, you're a criminal. If you steal somebody's purse, Batman's going to beat the stuffing out of you. It doesn't matter your skin color. If you are stealing a lady's purse and Batman sees you, you know, whatever. That's what's going to happen. They didn't make a... Nowadays, they're being very careful who they put in comics. 90% of the villains that are in DC Comics today are all white. Like, they don't make any minority the bad guy because they're worried about what people in social media are going to say. And if they
stupid.
I'm just telling you, if they do make them the villain, they have to rigorously explain why they're the villain.
I just feel like that's so dumb because...
Right, but that's been the last 10 years, at least.
I just feel that's so dumb because, you know, I just think it should just be... I think there should be people...
Link,
what are you doing? Link,
don't be
what are you
back there.
doing? What are you doing?
He's not allowed back there.
I'm
Whereas,
gonna put you in the basement.
when I was a kid, you didn't actually get to see who most of the villains were, like the thugs, because they all wore masks and gloves. So you could make, like, whatever, you know, criminal be whatever. It didn't matter. But now they make a clear distinction about race and all this other stuff. And most of the people you see Batman beating up in comics today, they're all white. Like, every single one of them. And I didn't even make that distinction before, but I can't not open a Batman comic and see Batman, like, spouting blue sky and Twitter nonsense all the time, to the point where I can't even buy a Batman comic anymore because it's all propaganda. Every single one of it. And it's a shame to see Batman used that way, because Batman was an apolitical character. He was a character that was just kind of like, okay, it doesn't matter what your political beliefs are. If you're breaking the law, I'm going to bust your face.
Yeah, but I thought in that video, Link, what are you doing? Link, get away. Get off.
You're not allowed back there.
I thought in that episode in which he beat that guy up, he felt bad about it, and then he helped that guy get a better job.
He didn't feel bad about it until a decade later.
Oh, he did help that guy later, though.
Later in life, but not at that moment. He didn't like, hey, I roughed you up, here's some money, I'm going to give you a job. No, that's not what happened.
Oh, just later on, he...
No. He beat the guy up, and then years later, after the guy got out of jail, he took care of him and his family.
Oh.
In fact, after he got the guy arrested, he did feel guilt, and he took care of the family or something like that. Because, you know, how was the dad going to provide when he was in jail? Like, they, obviously Bruce Wayne or somebody gave money to maybe even Dick Grayson did, I don't know. Dick Grayson had a trust fund.
Yeah.
But somehow that family was okay while the dad was in jail. And then, after he got out of jail, Bruce Wayne believes in redemption. He believes after you've been punished, it's a good idea not to shun people from society that want to change.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a convict that wants to change and get better and improve their life, Batman is there to help them out. Or Bruce Wayne is rather there. So Bruce Wayne got the guy the job.
After they pay for their
Right,
sentence.
after you pay for what you did, exactly. Yeah. Team 5.
I feel like if Dwayne McDuffie and oh my gosh, what's that guy who wrote? Oh, I'm very tired, honey. The guy, it was Bruce Timm and what's the other guy? The genius behind the Batman animated series. I forgot.
You'll need a top
Bruce
team
Timm,
to win
Paul
this one.
Dini.
Paul Dini there. Yeah, I feel like if Paul Dini and Dwayne McDuffie would write a Batman animated series today,
Make way for the
I
king
feel
of
like they
thieves.
would show black and white people as criminals and black and white people as good guys. I feel like they would, because that's just realistic. Like, I don't think they would shy away from it, and I think that if they tried to ask them to change, they'd be like, well, this is reality. That's what I like about DC, is like, it's supposed to be reality, and what they're doing right now is like, they're making it surreal. Like, they're not showing reality.
No, it's not supposed to be reality. Reality was Stan Lee. DC was a depiction between good and evil. The battle of
30
good and
seconds
evil.
before you attack.
And
Get ready.
sometimes the line between good and evil, like the methods of it, would be different. Like Batman is a character that dresses in all black, you know, and uses like torture and all this other stuff, but he's a good guy. He still believes in law and order, he still believes in justice. And where his villains are different. It has nothing to do with... Most of the storytelling in DC has always been fictional
Battle
universes.
starts in 5.
Marvel has always been looking out your window and incorporating what's happening in the world and bringing that into, they have real cities, they have real stuff. DC is always fictional places with the real morality of good versus evil. That is the difference
But they
between DC
did
and Marvel.
show realism. Criminals have wife and kids.
Yeah, they showed that kind of stuff, but it's still in a fictionalized setting. They didn't incorporate things that were happening in the world.
I know, but having different people that look different isn't showing things that are happening in the world. It's just showing people being real.
I don't understand where you're getting with this.
I'm not getting anything. I already said my thought 5 times. You keep saying that that's not what they wanted to say. So, I don't know. You're the one who's, like, doesn't... I don't understand what... You said you had a... I have no idea what you're saying. You said you had a problem with all villains being one race. And I'm explaining that I was trying to agree with you, saying I think they should be, you know, different ethnicities. I'm agreeing with you, and you're saying I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, that's not...
I'm literally
was
agreeing
talking-
with you, and then you're telling me that you have no idea
No,
what I'm saying.
I'm talking about in comics. When I grew up, everybody was equal.
Then what do you want, Luke?
I
What
want
do you
them.
want?
I want them to stop the propaganda that all white people are.
Then
evil.
how do you think the propaganda would stop? What are you talking about? How would you write it then?
How would it stop? I
You
would.
want all the villains to wear gloves and a mask? Is that what you want?
No, I just want them to stop echoing Twitter and like social media talking
But
points.
you can't stop something unless you push something else.
Chance to win.
You can't just stop one thing. You have to have a new idea to replace that.
I would have new ideas.
Well, what is your new idea? I'm asking you right now.
If you steal, if you do anything that breaks the law, Batman's gonna come after you, and he's not gonna get.
So what
monologue.
would you do? You would just make everyone look like a Simpsons character? Make everyone have a yellow face?
No,
Well then, what was the matter with my idea then? I don't understand what you're talking about.
I wouldn't give a shield to certain types of races, though. Everybody would be punished equally.
That's what I just said, and then you said I have no idea what you're talking about.
I think you were just talking about it in a dizzy way that I didn't.
I didn't
understand.
talk about it in a dizzy way. I said it very clearly.
Resources.
No one would get a pass, is what I'm saying.
Everybody needs a hand sometime. Great job. You're loading up on resources.
But I do agree with you, Garrett. Not every DC character is dark. But what I'm saying is the difference between even the Marvel books I read in the 90s, the distinction between good and evil was always blurred in Marvel. In DC, it was always very clear. This person was the bad guy, this person was the good guy. And DC, in a sense, was kind of like their own mythology, as opposed to, you know, Stan Lee's approach of, we're going to make characters be like, you know, real life. Because, you know, Martian Manhunter was not necessarily a dark character. He enjoyed, like, things like Oreos or Chocos or whatever. But I, you know, primarily grew up reading Batman comics, which are very, very dark. I wasn't a Superman guy. I couldn't relate to Superman because he was too bright and happy. It didn't work for me. Wonder Woman had both darkness in her books and light. But I wasn't a big Wonder Woman person either. I did like Wally West to some extent, but the Flash books, it didn't appeal to me. I do well with darkness.
Don't mess with the amazing Spider-Man!
Why hasn't Batman brutalized the Joker lately? I don't know. Because they're trying to make the Joker appear like a good character, especially after they did that whole Batman white and black thing. Where they made the Joker the good guy and Batman was the unhinged vigilante. So they've been trying to, I don't know, they're really changing a lot of Batman villains lately. And even some of the new Batman villains they've introduced, they're not really evil in a sense. Like, you can have really evil Batman villains, but you also need to have, like, Batman villains that have some type of redemption along with them. So, like, a core example of that, what they did with Mr. Freeze, making him appear more human, whereas before he was just a character that was this, you know, icebox man. When Paul Dini wrote Nora and gave Mr. Freeze a wife, it gave a reason for why Mr. Freeze does what he does. Whereas before, Mr. Freeze never had that. Mr. Freeze was just this cold villain that did cold crimes. Go back and look at the character in the 70s and the 80s and even like in the 40s and the 50s. Mr. Freeze was always the same type of cold architect type thing. Committed cold crimes, he stole diamonds, he had no reasoning for doing anything. In fact, most people wouldn't really use him except occasionally every other year or something like that in a comic book, and it'd be a one-off. He didn't really do much. The character was given substance when he was given something to do, like when he had a wife that had a horrible disease and he became a thief and he did all these horrible things in order to continue her life. That was his whole point. It gave him a reason for being a villain. Joker's just a villain just because. There is no reasoning behind it. He's just chaos. He is the embodiment of chaos and evil. Huh. But yeah, I can't relate to today's comics because it's all propaganda. It's a shame, but, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, as long as we get video games back the way they're supposed to be, I don't really care about comics. Comic is a lost art anyway. There's so much evil in comics that even if you fired everybody, the consciousness of people is so, like, corrupt nowadays that there's no hope of bringing that back. Gaming is the last, like, stronghold for decent people. And, you know, we won those battles, but unfortunately comic books is always going to be lost. Because you have a lot of entitled people that are writing comics today, and they're all crazy. And then they appeal to the crazy people, and, well, that's what happens. Video games is a bastion for people that still like fun, they like entertainment, and most of all, they like to be left alone. And comic books is all over the place these days, that it's not really a balance of anything. It's one talking point repeated by every type of comic book content creator. Every comic book writer believes the same things and they preach the same things. There's no balance, there's no other side. It's this side is evil, you need to hate this group of people, blah 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 blah. And it's just reinforced every issue, every book, whether you read Superman, you read Batman, you read Wonder Woman, you read X-Men, it doesn't matter. They all repeat the same mantra, like a manifesto. Because that's what they believe, and that's what they talk about on Twitter, that's what they talk about on Facebook, that's what they talk about on Blue Sky. It's their hobby. That's all they do. And unfortunately, their stories reflect that. Do I think Joker is more dangerous than Batman? Of course. But as you've seen with the man who laughs, or the Batman who laughs, Batman can be just as evil as the Joker. The only thing keeping Batman in check is his morality. His idea of justice. But yeah, people need to stop this idea of thinking that Batman is a character that likes to work with the police. He's never worked with the police well. He's friends with Jim Gordon and some of the people on Jim's staff. He's always made it difficult. Even go back and read Chuck Dixon's run. Batman literally would steal important stuff needed for an investigation to help arrest people. Because Batman's on the case, he's not going to leave any evidence behind. You know, he wouldn't play ball. He would disable all security cameras before he actually went in and beat people up. And by disable security cameras, I don't mean he'd be nice and, like, use some type of computer virus to scramble the feed. He would literally blow up the security cameras so he could do his job. He destroys public property all the time. He breaks lights and things so he can be shrouded in darkness. He's not a team player. The only thing that matters to Batman is the mission, which is to defeat evil. Even if it's a, you know, momentary reprieve. But he's not a character that really is a benefit to the city that he works in. Gotham is his city. But a lot of people have to clean up for Batman all the time. At least they used to.
You are under my protection.
No, Joker doesn't have morality.
You are welcome.
Joker kills people. He's an immoral character.
Feel like
If you kill people, you have no morality. If you wish the death of one group of people, you have no morality. You're an anarchist. Morality is what is good and righteous. Morality is good versus evil. You can't go around killing people and call yourself a good person.
You are under my protection.
Because, you know, killing people goes against the Ten Commandments, and the basis of our, you know, our laws in the Western world is based on the Ten Commandments. No stealing, no killing, no adultery. No lying. All that stuff. That's all based, like Western values are all based on Christianity. The majority of them are. The Ten Commandments. Yeah, there's not going to be any more Joker movies. The second Joker movie is not what people wanted either. No. Joker is the very embodiment of chaos and anarchy. He thrives in destruction. He wants destruction. He doesn't want to see people live happy, fulfilling lives. He just is an agent of chaos that wants to see the world tear itself apart. That is not what morality is. These people that go in the streets burning things and breaking businesses, those are not proponents of peace. Those are people who are agents of chaos. They want to breed fear. They want to breed anger. They want to breed destruction. They want to destroy the law. The thing that you need to understand that a lot of things that aren't taught anymore, or taught, is there's a clear distinction between law and order and chaos. Law and order and chaos cannot thrive. They cannot work in tandem. They cannot be together. They're separate entities, and they're entities that destroy one another. You can't have a civilized society and have chaos. If you have a civilized society, you have law and order. You have rules. Chaos means no rules. Chaos cannot exist. It doesn't create a civilized, happy society. It breeds destruction and death. So the people that are reading DC Comics right now, most of the authors of that are agents of chaos. They believe in destruction. They believe in disrupting law and order. They're basically psychopaths that have been given a pen and paper. And they're rewriting your favorite characters to go after their insane ideals. Whereas even though DC characters were crazy, they had a strict code, they had a rule, they had ethics, they had morals. From what I've seen of a lot of DC comics today, they just echo what you see on Twitter and Blue Sky, which are breeding grounds for anarchists. Does that make sense? I cannot get along with people that believe in anarchy and chaos. I despise those people. I am a person who believes in justice and law and order. I come from a civilized society. Well, we did a pretty good job, and we're getting more people in now, so that's good. The new comics, the writers for DC, they don't see themselves as anarchists, but all they spout is anarchy. Yeah. But they are anarchists. Look at the things that they write about. Look at the things they talk about on Twitter and what they talk about on Blue Sky and how they demonize more than half of the United States population. Oh, you guys both have the same thing. Alright, let's try this group. Well, I guess we're going in with this one. Team number 6. Well, an amateur writer, like nowadays, they can't help but bleed in all their thoughts and feelings into everything that they do. A talented writer creates their world to reflect the world that their characters live in, not the world that they live in. It's okay to subtly add things from real-world nuance into a comic book, but to basically base your stories after all the things that you see on CNN or Fox News all the time, that's not the emphasis of a good writer. You know? And majority of the DC storytelling for the past 10 years has been subject to what is happening on discussions on Twitter and politics and things like that. We're not getting fancy stories anymore about what's happening in a particular DC universe. I'll give you an example. There was no massive earthquake that destroyed New York City in the 90s. But in the 90s, there was a massive earthquake that destroyed Gotham and Bloodhaven and things like that. And it was known as the Cataclysm event that lasted for 2 or 3 years in comic books. It had no relation to Desert Storm or any of the things that were happening in the 90s. It was its own self-contained incident that impacted the DC universe as a whole. How often can you tell me that there is something similar to Cataclysm or any other event that Batman went through in the 90s that's not a self-reflection of the artist or the writer that's happening in the world today? You can't. There is nothing that's happening in DC Comics that actually relates to the fictional universe that it exists in. The only things they're spouting is the nonsense that they hear 24/7 from radicalized psychopaths on Twitter. And they think those people are the moral just people when they're the terrorists.
You have to stop them from securing the mission area.
Sorry, but it's true. Agree with me or not, it doesn't matter. I'm correct.
Ah, here they are now.
I appreciate you.
Behind you!
It's one of the core reasons I don't buy DC books anymore, because it's all trash.
Powering up!
It's basically like reading a tabloid comic book all the time. I mean, if you like reading the tabloids, that's fine, but there hasn't been any major event that has not had some connection or some dialogue talking point to what happened. Like, they had cancel culture in comics, like they had, they use a lot of the buzzwords that you see used on Twitter all the time to describe, like, a certain political opponents and things like that. They demonize, like, more than 90 million people, like, every comic book issue. They always show the violence against a person that's wearing a red hat. When I'm not a, you know, red hat person, but I'm just saying, it's not like I'm an idiot and I don't see what they're doing. They beat up police officers now, like, all the time in comic books, when they didn't used to do that. So they're furthering a narrative that all police is bad. You know, all this stuff. They do this all the time because they're trying to cater to the only group that's buying their comics are a bunch of psychopaths. And then what happens with these psychopaths? They get all wound up, and then they go and they shoot a guy who's giving a speech at a college. That's what happens. You're basically turning all these people into terrorists. You're making them angry over nothing. It all relates. But that's why I can't, you know, I can't support the comic book industry anymore because there's nothing about the comic book industry that's fun anymore. At least with gaming, what you get a lot with gaming is they try their best every game they create to create stories for those characters that relate to the game that you're playing. And most of the great stuff that's happening with superheroes, have you noticed it's all not in America? Marvel Rivals is a game that is made in China. It's one of the most popular Marvel entities in the world. Why is that? Because China doesn't know half the crap that we push in our comic books. They don't care. They see these heroic characters, they have them do heroic things. Or they remember seeing shows like X-Men in the 90s, or, you know, the early Avengers movies, and they're like, hey, these are really cool heroes. Let's make a cool hero game. The Marvel Comic Invasion game is being made, like, I believe in Europe, and it's just a beat-em-up game. They're doing a tribute to the old Marvel beat-em-up games from the 90s that Konami made in the X-Men. They're not going to have a deep, riching story. It's a bunch of, like, Marvel superheroes beating up, you know, aliens and stuff like that. That's essentially what the game is. You're going to be fighting a bunch of bug-like aliens, like you're in the Stargate movie or Starship Troopers or something. Occasionally you'll fight, like, Marvel villains, but for the most part, it's good guys beating up bad guys. It's pretty straightforward. The awesome Marvel fighting game that's coming out next year is being developed in Japan. The best stuff for our superheroes is when we outsource it to other countries. The stuff that we make in the United States is crap, for the most part. Oh yeah, no, I know that, Goth Trap. The one thing I don't like about what they've done with video games and entertainment is, if it's a global entity, right, then what they need to be doing in order to market your product, because most people don't read American comics out of America because it doesn't relate to them at all. So the international industry is not really helping comic books grow or anything like that, because it's just not. I've talked to several European friends and, like, people I know in Asia. They don't buy international comic books because it doesn't relate to them. Like, they open a Batman book, Batman is talking about something that happened, you know, buzzwords that's in America and things like that. They don't understand what's going on. They don't understand why Batman is being so divisive and all this other stuff. It doesn't matter to them. And a lot of the games that come out of America, too, are very very vindictive and stuff like that. And people in other countries are like, why in the world are these games that are supposed to have like global appeal, why are they releasing with so much American propaganda? And, you know, finally Japan has kind of woken up and they're like, yeah, we need to stop this stuff, and these are supposed to be global products. We can't be bringing in American sensibilities and doing all this other stuff when this has no relation to what's going on in the rest of the world. Because, you know, when people play a video game, they just want to be lost in that video game. They don't care about what's going on in America or, you know, what political party is fighting who or what buzzwords are happening. They don't care. They have their own things going on in their own country. But in America, we had our heads stuck so far up our butts for like 7 years that basically we were telling the rest of the world, well, you need to refer to this person as this type of thing. You need to... we demand that you do this. We demand that you do that. We demand that you feel for this cause. We're going to put this in our game. We're going to put that in our game. And when their games fail, they're like, oh, I don't understand what happened. Oh, I know what the problem is. It's Gamergate. Gamergate's the problem. No, gamers are the problem. It's not us. Even though we put that stuff in the game, it has no relation to what we did. It's the customer. They're the one at fault. You know? Whereas before, we always used to make really fun products that were well received all over the world, and that's not the case anymore. It's because people don't give, you know, a rat's butt outside of America. And even people in America are tired of it. Like, I'm literally the voice of, like, millions of people that think exactly like me that are fed up with all the nonsense that's been going on. In comics and movies and video games, you eventually reach a boiling point where it's like, enough is enough. Because I was a pretty chill dude a couple years ago. I've been driven crazy by the all the propaganda in my own country. Basically. Either that or I woke up to the propaganda, I don't know. But I see it everywhere now because I don't even try to hide it. I just, you know, I keep myself from going too crazy by not buying it anymore. I'd love to read comics, but every time I go to the grocery store and I open up a Batman comic, I want to tear the comic up in the store. It's garbage. They can't help themselves. It's like they're all... It's basically like we're giving jobs to mentally ill people. Like people that are really sick and disturbed. And we're giving them positions of power where they can spout their nonsense and make more people stupid. That to me is terrifying. And obviously I can't tear apart a comic in a comic book store, but I have not actually bought a comic in some time. Because every time I try to open one up, I'm like, okay, you know, this looks like cool art and stuff like that. I just have to read a few pages and realize these people are out of their mind. Oh, of course, Gothtrap. I mean, in Ireland, do you have, like... And this is just an observation I've made as being an American, but both sides of our political parties, they demonize one another all the time. They're always constantly fighting with each other. No, I can't do that. I can't join your team. You can join my team if you want. I try to talk to my friends in Japan, and I ask them, it's like, so do you have your politicians, like, always fighting with each other? Like, you know, the different Japanese diet, are they always making the news and, like, mudslinging each other? Like, not during election years? And you know what they say in both Korea and Japan? No. They said, our politicians do not act like your politicians. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Like, what is that like? Because I can't go anywhere without seeing Republicans and Democrats, like, screaming at each other. Like, it's all over the place. I mean, that to me is embarrassing, don't you think? Like, the fact that you can't have your politicians get along. Like, they're always yelling and screaming at each other. Like, it's exhausting, isn't it? I'm embarrassed by it. The fact that other countries, like friends of mine who I've known who are YouTubers, and they tell me they don't have their, you know, their leaders acting like clowns all the time. It's embarrassing to think about, like, what the rest of the world sees us as. They see us as a bunch of, like, whiny brats, basically, who can't get along, and we're always, like, you know, throwing tantrums. That's the best way it's been described to me. Restricted matching, what does that mean? Did somebody report me? Oh, they've been reported. I see. Sorry, man. I can't wait 9 minutes. We'll get you in the next one. I can't wait 9 minutes to get into a match. That's too long. Nightwing does an R comic. Lord Draken, are you already in? We can get Lord Draken. Oh, Lord Draken is in. Okay, never mind. What about you? Well, yeah, because it's so divisive. Like, think about that. You have one party that's in control of the media. Like, everything that you see in movies and TV show is controlled by, you know, the left. And then you have, like, independent comics are mostly controlled by the right and Twitter. But, like, you don't get... In the 90s, you did. In the 90s, you got both sides. You got both opinions from people, and they had sensible arguments. Now it's like, as an independent, I'm like stuck in the middle where I'm being yelled at by both sides, or it feels like I have both sides yelling at me in my head all the time. Like, you need to pick a side. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to agree with this issue. You need to agree with that issue. If you don't agree with this issue, you're this. If you don't agree with us, we're going to see you as this. And now it's to the point, if you don't say what I want to say, we're going to kill you. Because of what happened to Charlie Kirk. And a lot of us in our country think about that now, like, wow, if you say certain things now, there's going to be people crazy enough to shoot you. There's a lot of people that think like that. So now it's like we're putting our own restrictions on freedom of speech because it's like we don't want to get killed by some radical who doesn't want people to have freedom of speech. All that stuff is in the back of a lot of Americans' heads nowadays.
I'm not judging.
Because it's never happened before.
Make way for the King of Thieves.
Are you trying to get into a match, Kaya? Try again after this. Just know this game is really hard to play, though, so don't be discouraged when you get your butt kicked. Like, this is basically, if you've never played Overwatch or anything like that, this game's pretty intense. I mean, I'm terrible at this game, but I like playing with my community.
So you get to soar through the cosmos full time? Lucky.
It is lovely, but it can also be very lonely.
For sure, leading Galactus to acorn-covered worlds was a blast, but
The battle starts in 5.
Yeah, well, that's when we grew up in the 90s and the 2000s.
Capture the mission area.
There was, like, making fun of both sides of the political party spectrum or whatever, but we were never literally calling for violence or death against another political opponent or even a political side. That's the difference now is, like, both sides are very angry. And one side is actually willing to assassinate someone over, you know, disagreeing with their stance on social issues. That's insane. That is absolutely insane. Like, I don't even know how to comment on that, you know? And the fact that people... The thing that terrified me the most, I think, about everything that happened, is you had people celebrating the death of that Charlie Kirk guy and saying, well, it was justified that he was killed because he said mean things. That was the scariest thing, is you had so many people on the left, like, celebrating murder, assassination, like it was a good thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, we've become a third world country. overnight. It's like there's so many people in this country that have such like backwards thinking now. We're doomed. Like America's doomed with that type of thinking because that's like oppressive and evil thinking. Like regardless of how I feel about like what you believe about politics, I don't believe you need to deserve to die for like having an opinion that's different than mine. Like that's not how this country's supposed to work. And the fact that there are tons of young people that were celebrating, you know, the death of somebody, it was messed up. And they're like, well, he said bad things. It's like, he said bad things according to you, and you're saying that him being killed was justified. That makes you a terrorist. That makes you insane. And they can't see that. They're like, well, you know, and they're like, they're happy about it. It's like, oh my god. Third world country. Everything that I never thought I'd see this country turn into, it turned into. It's insane. And the problem is, what they're going to do, I guarantee you, before the year's end, there will be a story in DC Comics about a guy who's killed, the way that Charlie was killed, and they're going to find a way in the comic books to make that person look like the villain. Either at the end of this year or the end of next year, there will be a story incorporating that. Because these writers can't help incorporating this stuff. Especially if it furthers their narrative and their political side. You watch. They're going to find some way of spinning that and making it look really bad. And telling everybody of their readership that this is okay. That's how far we've come. Like, backwards. I guarantee it's going to happen. Guarantee. I don't even have to think about it. I know it's going to end up in a Marvel comic or it's going to end up in a DC comic. And the rhetoric is going to be terrible. That's the sad thing. Oh yeah, you have no idea, Uncle Howdy. Yeah, they were celebrating it. Yep. Not only that, they were making TikTok videos and dancing. Yeah. Because they saw him, like, they saw him as basically, you know, mustache man from the 40s. So they celebrated his death. They're like, they were even saying stuff like, hey, this guy died. Would you be sad if Hitler died? It's like, the man wasn't Hitler. It's like, what is wrong with you? But it's like that meme says. They see everyone who has a different opinion than them as a brown shirt. And that's not how America works. America can't thrive like that. You can't say one party is, you know... That'd be like calling the left communist all the time. It doesn't work. Not every person in the left is a communist or a Marxist. Just like not everybody, like, not even a small percentage of, like, another political side is a Nazi. Nazis were terrible people. It's like, what is wrong with these people? But they're using the same tactics that Hitler used in the 40s, which is demonizing the other political group so that they can seize power. If you continue to dehumanize and demonize the other political side, nobody's going to want anything to do with that political side, because you've deemed that side as pure evil. So then it makes it very easy to take over. That's a playbook from Mein Kampf. It's true. All this information is available. You could even, you know, go to your local library and read that book. I don't advise it, though. That book is crazy. But most of these, you know, the rhetoric and all this other stuff, I mean, it's been done before. This is why it's important to learn from history so you don't repeat the same mistakes that history already, you know, did. A lot of people like to ignore history. They're like, oh, we're more civilized now. It's like, then why is Antifa incorporating the same tactics that the German army did before they took over Germany? Why are you doing the same stuff? If you're better now in the 2020s, why are you literally taking page after page from Mein Kampf, which is an evil, evil, evil book? Why? You think that those, like, ideals from the 40s and 30s aren't going to somehow warp your thinking nowadays? Of course they will.
You thought you got rid of me? Party chance.
That stuff's not supposed to be taught. That stuff's not supposed to be put in practice. It's supposed to be on display in the museum to show you, hey, this stuff was bad, don't ever do this again. I'm not supposed to take life lessons from this and be like, oh yeah, let's incorporate this stuff that this dictator did, but we're going to make it better because we're American. There's no way we'll do the same stuff again. Wrong! Everybody always believes because you have technology and stuff like that, it makes you better than the people that came before you. It doesn't work that way. Because there's no difference between you and the people of the 1940s. The only difference is the morality, which you have none. You don't have the same morality that they had in the 40s and 30s. You would not rise up to take out a dictator the way that, you know, the greatest generation did. You would not be willing to sacrifice. You wouldn't be willing to do anything. You would find ways of protesting to get out of it, and when that happens, the dude's already going to take over wherever he's going. You're not going to stand in his way. If anything, some of you might even agree with that person. That's the scary thing. We don't have a selfless attitude. We don't have a sacrificial attitude where we're going to lay down our lives to help keep people safe. All that stuff is gone. As well as there's so much infighting in our own country that we don't even care about anybody outside of our country, really. We're too busy fighting at home. All the time. Which is, I don't know. As an older person, it's devastating to see that because I've seen the country get united so many times after 9/11. To see it torn apart by, like, differences of opinions, I didn't grow up in a country like this. So I don't even know how to relate to half the people. Like, nowadays. It's like, what? Because, I'll tell you what. In the 90s and the 2000s, we said way worse stuff to each other. But we were all still friends. And most importantly, we were all civil. And we all worked together. But we said, like, the language that we had back then, you would consider very toxic. The things that we would talk about and things like that. And people would literally go out to Taco Bell or McDonald's afterwards, hang out, you know, go to a net cafe and do LAN parties of, like, Quake or whatever, you know? Like, people are trying to censor so many words that we used on a regular basis, and we called each other the R word and all kinds of stuff. And people are trying to censor, like, speech and all kinds of stuff now. Like, we said way worse stuff, and we were a better off society than how a lot of people are today. Because at the end of the day, no matter what type of squabbles or incidents we had back then, we always found a way of getting along. That's the most important thing that future generations need to learn, is you have to get along with people that you don't like, that you don't agree with. You can't go and create giant echo chambers for either side, because all you're going to do is make a place where you feel comfortable talking to someone that agrees with the same things you agree with. You will never, ever be able to make a thriving, functioning society by dividing everybody. It will never happen. A house divided amongst itself cannot stand. It's true. Oh my gosh, Xbox Live back in the day, don't get me started. I got, like, destroyed by a 10-year-old on Xbox Live when I was in college. And the amount of things that person said to me over on Xbox Live, I will never forget. And the fact that he had a squeaky little voice saying all those things, I don't even know how to describe that. But, I mean, Xbox Live was a very, very unique place. It was, like, people don't know what gaming was like. There was always smack talk, but, I mean, being belittled by a 10-year-old when you're in college, that was definitely something. Because these kids could back up the smack talk. And that's just how gaming was. As normal. If you know, were an Xbox player, you went on Xbox Live and you knew what was going to happen, or you just avoided it. Like, for me, I didn't play a lot of online games, so I knew what online, online rhetoric and stuff was like online discussions. So I was like, yeah, I'm just going to avoid Xbox Live and just online games in general, because it's not for me. I don't really want to... I like single-player experiences anyway, and I don't feel like basically getting... assaulted by a 10-year-old saying, like, stuff like he's a 40-year-old sailor or something like that. You know, it's just not for me. Blech. Yeah, they sounded like little chipmunks. Yeah, they did, but the little chipmunks, it was like listening to Alvin and the Chipmunks, like, saying every swear word in the book. It's like, what? But I'm being serious, though. Even though, like, we would be looked at by younger generations as toxic and toxic language, everybody got along. Smack talk was just smack talk. It wasn't an insult to just be insulting. It was gaming smack talk. People did not take it to heart, really. It happened. People got over it, you know. But people still were friends, and people still played games together. They still talked. One of the core things that we never talked about, though, which is probably why we had utopias back then, is majority people did not talk about politics. They did not talk about social issues. They would talk about their favorite TV shows. They would talk about the comic books they were reading, maybe. Talk about their favorite games. Talk about their job, because, you know, college-age people complain about work, complain about traffic, complain about gas prices, talk about what they're eating for dinner, all kinds of stuff, you know. People didn't have open debates about things. It just wasn't... It was a taboo because we realized that if you talked about certain things, it would be bad. And then what happened was people's hobbies changed to the point where they became, like... I make the comparison sometime because it's true. But basically, like, you know how people get very obsessed with sports? You wear their jerseys, you know, you're very, very into one sports team over another. You know everything about the players, you know their stats, you know all this other stuff. What do you think happened to American politics? American politics literally became a sport. People know all the players of the team, you know their stats, you know who they voted for, you know what issues they stand on, you follow them on their Twitter, you wear their names on your shirt or your hat. You're literally, like, the two political party system in this country has become sports teams. And instead of, like, people getting together and cheering for their favorite side, like, during election year, you do it all year round. To an unhealthy degree, mind you. Just like you would a sport. So that's why I make the comparison between American sports and American politics, because the fans behave the same way. And in Canada, when the fans don't win the Stanley Cup, they riot. In America now, riots happen all the time for all kinds of reasons, which never happened in the 90s, never happened in the 2000s, never happened in the 80s. It's because people are so obsessed with their political team that they go nuts. Because it's all they do. That's their entire life. I can't find one person on Twitter that doesn't retweet one political side or the other. Like, every day. Every person I follow on Twitter, whether they're a game person or they're an anime, like American Dub Studio, they all retweet either Republican stuff or Democrat stuff. Like, either side, all the time. Every single one of them. I don't. Have you ever gone to my feed on Twitter or Kwings Let's Plays and seen any political tweets? Ever. Like retweets of a candidate or any of that. I bet you can't find one. You want to know how it got to this point? I can tell you, Goth. Before 9/11, and I know a lot of people, this is going to be hard for you to believe, but I promise you this existed. And Miss Deanna probably remembers this too. And some other people, you know, who are older. But before 9/11, we did not have 24-hour news broadcasts until 9/11. The news is a big discerning factor of why everyone is crazy now. Is because both sides are being inundated 24 hours a day with the news. When I was a kid, the news was on twice a day. If you can believe that. Twice a day. You had a broadcast at, what was it, the morning news? And then you had the evening news at like, I don't know, I think it was like 8 o'clock or something like that. 8 o'clock news, 9 o'clock news. Cable had 24-hour news, but most people did not have cable in the 90s. Cable was a very expensive luxury. Most normal people did not have cable. Cable prices went down in 1996. When cable first started, it was hundreds of dollars. The cable box was very expensive. That's why a lot of people stole cable in the 90s. You had a friend who worked in the cable industry, you would get a cable box, and someone else would be paying for the cable box, and the cable guy would go and distribute tons of cable boxes to an entire neighborhood. And they would get it for free for a while, until the cable company was like, they would start to, I think it was like by 96 or 97, people started to get in trouble. And so they were forced to, either we're going to sue you, or you're going to become a paid subscriber or whatever. So, I mean, you know, people had to end up officially paying for cable later on. But after 9/11, more and more companies started to make 24-hour news segments where everything that was happening was now not just the news, but then you had roundtable discussions where people with either like-minded opinions or different opinions would come on, and they would discuss the news that just happened like they were breaking it up into a sport. You know how there's sports shows where you have different, like, experts come in, they sit down and they're experts for their team, and they describe this, that, or the other. Like, so-and-so is a great player, but he needs to watch out for this because he struggles in this area. And the other guy would be like, how dare you say that about this football player? This football player, when he was in college, blah, 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 blah. So you have that same type of roundtable experience now being done several times a night. So not only are you getting the news, but you're also getting the opinion of the news anchors as they go to different parts of the news studio to continue to spread the news. And most of the news that they put on TV is always bad news because that equals good ratings. So the reason, GothCorp, why we got so crazy in this country is because no one can turn off the news because it's always on. It's always something, quote-unquote, adults are supposed to watch. So you get the news, which originally was just a half hour. Things like, this is what the weather is going to be tomorrow. This is what's going on in your community. This is what's going on, you know, this is what the president said today or whatever. And that was it. You might get like a really nice like self-interest story about like your community or something like that, helping a lady get her cat out of the tree or whatever. And then you'd have your regular programming, which would be sitcoms that had moral issues. Every sitcom that was written in the 90s and the 80s had a moral lesson. Most sitcoms today do not have morality in them. It's just jokes and sex. It's true. There was not a moral lesson. There are no moral lessons anymore. But you could not watch The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Full House, what else? Step by Step, Boy Meets World, Saved by the Bell, anything like that in the 90s, Family Matters, without getting some type of moral undertone in the story. A character would deal with something and then they would get it fixed at the end of the episode. Even Everybody Loves Raymond had some type of like morality spin to it. even though, you know, Deborah was always driven crazy by her mother-in-law, there was something about the show that added substance that was interesting. That's why those shows lasted a long time. Frasier, even though Frasier was a very weird show, where people were basically making fun of the rich elite, which was funny, they had moral lessons. They had things that the characters went through that was relatable to the people that was watching. Like, American television back then, it had rules and it had regulations as well as it had things to teach people. You don't have that in entertainment anymore. Like, they don't really do anything with that. They do the opposite. Which is crazy, but, I mean, that's the difference. So, my generation, we grew up with moral lessons, not just from our cartoon shows, but in our nightly entertainment. We also did not have 24-hour news. It was not available. And then for whatever reason, after 9/11, like, nightly news lasted longer. It wasn't just programs like 60 Minutes. You had more things other than that. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger, where they're like, hey, we're going to get more tuned in what's going on in the world. And I think that was a mistake. Like, if everybody would have come together and they did the 24-hour coverage for what happened in 9/11, which, again, that type of attack was never in our country before, so everybody was talking about it. But these companies, they saw how much money they made, and they're like, hey, what if we keep doing the news every single day, multiple times a day, and then 24 hours, and we have all these roundtables and this discussions, we can continue to keep the public watching the news, because the news always had terrible ratings. And that's how it happened. And then, as time went on, more and more people were getting into politics, and it became a hobby for millions and millions of people in the U.S., when these same people used to be obsessed with sports and anime and video games and all this other stuff, and now they cannot live their lives, at least from what I see, on Twitter and Blue Sky, without being a champion or a super fan to one political group over another. And both sides are guilty of this. You can't say otherwise to me, because I see it. I'm not blind. I've literally witnessed it every single day. I cannot follow a game developer without them retweeting something, you know, saying something horrible about another, like, about Republicans or whatever. And when I'm with Republicans, and I'm seeing them, like a comedian that's conservative, they're retweeting something mean about Democrats. Like, they're both doing it all the time, to the point where my followers list on my Twitter is pretty low compared to most, you know, people who've been on Twitter as long as I have, because I can't follow most people because I don't want that stuff in my feed. I don't think that's good for my mental state of mind, and I really don't think it's good for other people to be so angry at their fellow Americans 24 hours a day. I think maybe a couple times a week, sure. You know, because stuff happens. Maybe some guy ran in front of you in traffic and bumped your car or something. You have a right to be angry about stuff, but do you have a right to be angry about the political opposition? Or I can't even believe we're saying the words opposition. You have political differences? No, I don't think you do have a right to be this angry all the time. I think it's bad for your mental state of mind. I think it's also bad for if you have children or other people that are around you. I think it's very bad that you have the news on. And if you have the news on, in my eyes, you're a bad parent. Because you're inundating your child to grow up with this stuff, and then they're going to be stuck in the same loop that you are. I think more parents need to turn off the news so that they don't turn their child into, you know, a little political machine. Because it's just going to carry on and on and on. And with social media now, people are more plugged into the news than ever before. And I think that's bad. So that's why I think everything is the way it is, Gothcraft, is because people are too invested. And they can't help themselves. It's like to the point of, like, you know when you get really hyped about something, you get obsessed about it? People in America are obsessed about politics. 24 hours a day. And the difference is, in the 90s and the 2000s, no one was. People were obsessed about, like, things that mattered, like their favorite TV shows or their job, their family, you know? And you were also getting television that reflected America's values. as well as, like, you know, most of the sitcoms. Did you ever wonder why most of the sitcoms in America had to do with family life? Whether they were showing a family like Family Matters, like Carl Winslow being a police officer, or they were showing The Cosby Show with a guy being a doctor, or The King of Queens with the guy working as a FedEx driver. Did you ever wonder why 30 years of television programming was designed to highlight the American family in a way that would be relatable to somebody that worked those types of jobs? It's because it was positive reinforcement. It was a way to, it wasn't propaganda, it was a way for people to be like, hey, these actors on TV, they're very much like you, well, not, they're characters, that go through stuff that you go through. Like, Carl was a guy who had a family of, I think, like 4 or 5 kids. He was a police officer, and things were hard for him, but he always made time to be a good father. That's why a lot of people called Carl Winslow from Family Matters America's dad at one point, until the title was passed over to Uncle Phil from The Fresh Prince. And Uncle Phil became, like, kind of that TV dad for so many people. You don't really have TV dads anymore because most TV dads on TV are made fun of by their wives. And they're made to look ridiculous. Look at the show In the Middle. Who's the one who wears the pants in that family and who's very rude and in control of everything? It'd be Patricia Heaton, who played the mom to that one guy's wife, you know? But it wasn't like an equal thing between man and wife in like The Cosby Show or something like that. The wife is clearly in charge of the family, and the husband's made to look like an idiot that, you know, it's thanks to whatever money he makes that he's the provider. And there were so many shows made like Modern Family and The Middle and all this other stuff where they show the man, even though he's a provider, they ridicule him. So what happens when these younger generations see this type of entertainment? They think that's how all American men behave, like with their jobs and stuff like that, and all men are deadbeats. So then you get this reinforcement from television that, you know, women are the ones that control the world and men are all idiots. Whereas in the 90s, our television focused on the importance of having a family, the good moral lessons of, like, not lying, not stealing, all this stuff. Like how to be a good neighbor, like whether... And, you know, sometimes we had idiot dads, but idiot dads did their best to, you know, be good. Like Tim Allen in Home Improvement. He was an idiot. But he cared about his wife, and he cared about his kids, and he always made time for people. What they showed about him being an idiot, though, is the fact that he was actually the star of a show about tools, but everything he would build would blow up. Now, they did a spoof of that. They basically said, yes, he knows what he's talking about, but he's obsessed with making things more powerful. So, every time Tim the Toolman Taylor would fix the dishwasher or improve the car, it would blow up, because if he would... The joke is, if he would just do things that he's supposed to do, like just fix things and not try to improve them or make them better or more powerful, they wouldn't break. And that's the running gag of the show. But at the heart of the show, like Tim and his wife Jill, they were good parents. They were there for their kids, and, you know, it was a good moral, like, thing that we had. And there were so many shows like that. I can't really... I've tried to watch American sitcoms in the 2020s, and I can't really find a lot of those warm, fuzzy shows where they depict the family as, like, important. It's almost like every show became The Simpsons or Family Guy in live action. And what people don't understand about The Simpsons is The Simpsons was a parody, the opposite of what those sitcoms were supposed to represent. So it was important for us to kind of laugh at the absurdity of some of these sitcoms. And that's what The Simpsons was. It was a parody of, like, The Cosby Show and Full House and Growing Pains and all that other stuff, you know? It was supposed to be, like, not a mirror of society. It was supposed to show you a parody and to make fun of all that. But what happened is people who grew up with The Simpsons, they're like, okay, this is what real life is like. Some people. But But honestly, think about it. Do you see a lot of shows today that are good positive reinforcement for what it's like to be a parent, or what it's to be a young married couple, or even an older married couple? Like, most of the shows that I see, they're talking about body count. They're talking about, like, you know, I don't want to settle down because my parents are divorced. I don't want to have kids because I don't want to deal with, you know, all the stuff going on with schools and stuff like that. They're doing everything they can, it feels like, in Hollywood to deconstruct the idea of family. Whereas every other culture, like my friends in Japan, even all these years later, they still have the same type of television that they had when they were kids. Like, their shows, whether it's anime or their live-action dramas or whatever, they still show the importance of what it's like to have family. They still like show, you know, all kinds of things that they talk about work, they talk about all this other stuff. I have not found one Japanese anime in 30 years that acts or behaves like American programming, like today. I've actually gotten used to watching some Japanese, like, live-action stuff, which they talk really, really fast and the subtitles are hard to keep up. But from what I've gathered is, it shows a mom and dad are always working. The kids know how to take care of themselves and cook. When the family are together, they always sit down and have a meal. How many of you guys, like, nowadays even think about sitting down and having a meal with your parents? In the 90s, everybody sat down and ate with each other. Your parents would work all day. They would come home by 5 or 6 o'clock. You would eat dinner together. How many of you, even who are younger, like, even know what that is? How many of you guys actually sit in front of the TV and you just eat your meal? Like, we actually sat at the table with our families. I'm not joking either. It's not a television thing. It was real. 100%. Alright, you want to try to play again? We'll try to get you in, Kaya. Yeah, your parents were always glued into the TV watching politics, yeah. Before... I'll give you another example from my own life. My family is full of Republicans and Democrats, right? Like, 100%. Before 9/11... when we would have family Thanksgivings from like 1997 until about even after 9/11. Prior to 9/11, my family never got into arguments at Thanksgiving. I hate Thanksgiving with my family because both sides argue with each other at the dinner table during Thanksgiving about politics. Not about sports. Not about anything other than that. And it gets to the point where the gravy boat gets thrown around. And people are literally getting violent over their opinion. Like, you know, where they're like slamming the table and they're yelling and screaming at each other. These are people that are supposed to love each other. But their political views have divided them so much that they literally despise one another. That's the family that I avoid. Okay? I've not gone to a family Thanksgiving in 15 years. Purposely to avoid that. Okay? Prior to 9/11, my Thanksgivings were good. People played board games. People hung out. We put on Christmas movies. What else did we do? We had desserts. There was no screaming ever. There was no disagreements ever. They would joke and they would laugh around. And these are people that had two completely different political views, conservative and Democrat. After 9/11, like around 2002, my families started to get into heated arguments at Thanksgiving. And they would come from Florida and New York and Illinois, and everybody would sit down at this giant Thanksgiving table, and either during Thanksgiving or the week of Thanksgiving, because they would be there for about a week, there would be doors slamming and people getting up from the table and cussing each other out. That was Thanksgiving from then on. And once I got married, never did Thanksgiving again. Yeah. It's true.
For some fireworks.
Oh yeah, Thanksgiving is... But there's things that... I don't think it's Americans... Well, it is Americans' fault because they're too plugged into the TV. But they believe that the only people that should be so invested into their, country's political stuff are the politicians that you hire. Because you, as an individual, are not mentally okay or stable enough to handle it. Because you're not running for office. And even I would argue that some of the people that are in office right now are not mentally capable because they're all insane. Because they act like children on Twitter all the time. Whether they're Republican or Democrat. They're always screaming at each other. And the problem is, what a lot of these people don't see is the rest of the world sees what you're doing, and the other world's politicians do not act like you. They actually have more decorum. They have more politeness. And they save their arguments for when they're sitting in their seats at work. But these people take their work home and they're screaming at the other side all the time. To the point where I've almost gotten rid of my Twitter so many times. I just can't deal with it. And you probably noticed, like, the past year or so, I don't even go on my Twitter very much, because every time I go on my Twitter, I see something.
Now you do the same for me,
I used to tweet a lot about stuff, like, hey, this is the game that we're doing, or whatever. I went on my Twitter today, and I was just like, I was trying to post a cat short or something, and there were people posting that Batman image talking about how Batman is, beating up police because he believes all police are, do police brutality and they're all criminals now. That's a talking point from Twitter, though. That's not a national held belief. That's a belief of people on the internet. But they're taking these internet philosophies and ideals and they're bringing them into the real world through comic books, where most people don't act or behave the way they do on Twitter. But they're trying to make people behave like that and make it normal when it's not. That's the scary thing. So, I apologize. I saw some stuff on my Twitter before I came to work today, and it's in my head. But I've said this before. I've told people this is why. It's the news' fault. The news is not there to be your friend, though. The news is there to divide people so they can get ratings. Because the best news for a news company to talk about is bad news. I'm trying to invite Kaya again. Kaya, accept the invite. I sent you duplicates, buddy. Click, 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 click. I can't send you any more. You've declined. Why? Send it again. You have sent an invitation. You can't keep asking me to play with you and then decline the invite. There you go. Good job. Okay, and we'll get the next person in. Now again, Kaya, this game, if you're not familiar with it, it could be a problem, okay? But if you've played things like Overwatch and other things, it plays just like that. But I see it says you're a level 12, so you have been playing for a while, so you probably understand how the mechanics work, so you should be fine. Alright, I guess we'll try to get Lord Draken in. Alright, there we go. Gothstrap, I haven't seen my sister in 20 years. I showed up at my sister's wedding, and I've actually not seen her outside of her wedding. Like, technically, my 20 years started over again when I saw my sister in 2018, but my sister hasn't contacted me. My sister is very far left, I have not gotten one text, one birthday card, one knock on my door, and I've had the same cell phone for 25 years. Not one call, not one text from my sister. When my sister had cancer, I was the last person to find out. And I didn't find out until she had, like, gotten the cancer out. So, you know, politics in this country is toxic. It destroys families, it destroys lives. It's not a good thing. And it's not things that American citizens should be obsessed with. It destroys everything. And most of my family is like that. I don't, you know, I always bow out of, like, because, you know, obviously, majority of my family's from New York City, so. But I always, like, when I go and to the big Portuguese side, because, you know, the Portuguese, they're independent, they're left. But they're good people. A lot of them are atheists, doesn't really matter. But as soon as they start to go toward political stuff, that's when I leave. Because I'm not going to talk to them about that stuff. Especially after they've been drinking a lot. When they start hitting the bottle, it's time to go. Some of them are happy drunks, but no. Once they, because they're gonna, I know what they're gonna talk about, so it's time to go. I would love to keep hanging out with them, but I know what's, you know, I know what's coming. So, but my parents and I have fixed our relationship. I wouldn't say we were divided over politics. We were divided over, like, some other stuff. It was family related that actually didn't have to do with politics. Had to do with being so far apart and things like that, as well as, like, some miscommunications between some stuff. But I've mended. Before my grandma died, we patched things up with my parents, and we're closer with my parents, and that's great. But yeah, my sister hasn't tried to reach out to me, and I got tired of reaching out to her. Like, you know, texting her, being on read only. So I stopped after when we moved away from Massachusetts. Even, this is the crazy thing. I lived in the same state as my far left sister. I lived in the same state in Massachusetts. I lived in Boston, she lived in Plymouth. The entire time I lived in Boston, she didn't even come to our apartment. Whenever she found out that we were going to visit my mom and dad, she left. Okay? And this was back before they used to call, like, conservatives Hitler. This would be like 2007, 2008, 2009. So this was during the Obama and probably the W years. She acted like that back then. Which is why I don't talk about her very much. And then during the, I mean, I've seen her Facebook. Like, during the Biden years, she got really toxic. But, you know, I would still take a call from her, but I don't get any calls. Like, I'm open to talking to her. I talk to my parents all the time again, after my grandma passed. But, you know, it feels like she's purposely been avoiding me for like 20 years. It hurts.
If robots chose to rise up against their creators, whose side would you stand on, Tony Stark?
Well, that depends entirely on whether or not I can.
Based on what I've seen politics do to my own family, that's probably why I hate politicians as much as I do. Is because I've seen how much of a detriment it is to society. You know? Like, I'm anti-politics. I don't like it. I wouldn't say I'm an anarchist, because I believe in law and order and structure and justice, but I don't like how our political system, like, they're always arguing. I don't see how that benefits anything. And I'm very angry at how obsessed people are with it, like they're, you know, rooting for the Mets over the Yankees or something like that. Or actually, in this case, it would be the Red Sox versus the Yankees. That's how nasty I see Republicans and Democrats. They're like the Yankees and the Red Sox. And if any of you remember the rivalry between Boston and New York, then you know what I'm talking about. I think it's mellowed over the years because the Red Sox had a dynasty where they actually won, you know, the World Series a couple times. But prior to that, the Red Sox and the Yankees' way of, you know, was pretty intense. I think that's a fair comparison. It was super enlightening. The thing is, I'm not like some type of thought guru, though. I'm just a common sense individual. The world has gone so backwards that I actually look like frickin' Gandhi. But I'm just a normal, everyday dude. Just a, you know, I have a clear understanding of common sense and morality that people have forgotten. But it makes me appear like I'm this, like, mad monk or something like that, but I'm not. I'm just, everything that I talk about is all stuff that I learned 30 years ago in the 90s. I've just kept to those same principles and things like that. I haven't done anything drastic with my life. This is all stuff I was taught in kindergarten, for crying out loud. That's why I've had people say that I'm like this, like, you know, thought-provoking individual. I'm not. I'm just, all the things I'm talking about is how everybody in the 90s felt. It's just how it is. That's how our world has declined so much that common sense thinking for some people is considered detrimental. That morality is evil. That's why I fear about everything going on in the world, is because there's so many evil people that think good is evil. That's terrifying. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if the world can go back. Like, now we have more news than ever. Like, there's literally people who get fired from broadcasting. They create their own broadcasting company, like, on their website, and they're still doing everything they did when they were a news anchor. And now they're even more about their opinion. Like, less people are watching television. They're watching news programming on YouTube or on Twitter or on Blue Sky or Facebook. And the thing is, with television, you have to understand there is a filter. The problem with getting raw news the way that people are now, which I think is radicalizing people even more, it has to do with people are like, there's no filter, there's no censorship. They can say and do whatever they want because it's their own website. So they're going to go more extreme to whatever side they're going to do. So no, I don't see the country ever getting better. If anything, it's going to get worse. Because people have to unplug themselves from the news. Like, look at me. My wife and I, we made the decision when we got married we weren't going to have cable. We saw cable as a problem. Especially if we had, you know, the hope was having kids. So we were like, we're not going to have cable. If we want kids to be able to watch a Disney movie, we'll buy a Disney movie for them or something. Or we'll buy a cartoon show and put a DVD on. We're not going to have constant cable on because we don't want them watching the TV 24 hours a day. We don't want them to have the ability to turn on TV, so we made that decision when we got married to never have cable. And to my knowledge, we never had cable in any of our, like, the places we lived in. Boston, Pennsylvania, even New York. When we went to school together, we didn't have cable. If we wanted to watch a movie, we went and bought a DVD. Not only was it a good thing to save money, but, you know, even now, the only things that we have with the way entertainment is, I only have Netflix, Crunchyroll, and Amazon Prime. Those are our only streaming services that we have.
It will be nice to
Nothing else.
power once more.
For a little while I had HBO Max and I had Disney Plus, but I don't anymore. I'm only paying for those 3 services. And I love the ability to watch stuff on my phone. That's great, but I have to make sure that I don't watch stuff too much because then I get addicted to it. Then I'll end up binge watching an entire 12-episode anime, and Amber will come home from work and then be like, what did you do? I watched 12 episodes of a show and I forgot to sleep. But I still think, like, if people would find ways of unplugging from the news, I think people would become a lot nicer to each other. I know people don't like this, but I do this. Whenever I go to the doctor's office and I see the news on, and if there's people watching it, I turn off the news. If we're in a doctor's office or a dentist or, like, anywhere where you can go and freely change the news, I put on something else that's not a news. I put on a sitcom, and I will tell you something. Just based on my own, like, I guess, scientific experiment. Before people had a scowly face when the news was on in the doctor's office, there might have been 1 or 2 people invested in it. It didn't, I don't really care. I put on a sitcom. Everybody in the doctor's office that was waiting to go see the doctor, they were laughing along with the TV. Whereas when the news was on, everybody was scowly, everybody was angry, and you could just see this tense vibe. And whether it's a bar or whatever, I always change the channel off the news. I don't care if that makes people uncomfortable or whatever, or they were watching that. I don't give a rat's butt about it. I know that the news is evil. So wherever I am and I'm in a public space, I change the channel. If more people did what I did, or do, on a, you know, whenever I'm out and about, I think that slowly but surely it'll start to change more and more people. Because I believe that the news is the greatest enemy and journalists in this country than people realize. And they're not there to help people. They're not there to tell people the truth. They're there to cause division. They're there to get good ratings. And they're there to work their way up to eventually getting a job in Washington, where most of them end up. So I don't believe in the, quote, freedom of the press, because they're not actually in it for helping inform people. But I always do that. And it doesn't matter if people are invested in whatever show they're watching. If it's the news, wherever I am, and I'm taller than people so I can reach the TV, it doesn't bother me. I don't mind being considered rude. I do it anyway. Because I know for a fact, as long as that's in there, everybody in that room is going to be grumpy. They're going to be mean. They're going to be vindictive. And if somebody happens to walk in with a different, like, political shirt, there's going to be a fight. Or there's going to be some type of, like, aggressive behavior. So I take that away from people. And I do it every single time. And I will always do that. If people have a problem with it, they can get tall and they can change the TV back. But I'm 6'4", so it doesn't matter to me. It's like, oh, you're watching this? That's great. I have a show on. And they're like, what? And I said, yeah. They're like, well, don't you need the remote to change that? I'm holding the remote. It's like, well, you can switch it back if you want, but I'll just switch it to my show. Did we already do the, I don't even know what character we did. I guess we showed Lord Draken. We'll show this one. You were playing a Squirrel Girl. Good job, Kaya. Okay. The problem is there's not a lot of place to get gaming news, though. Like, it would be great if we had... in the 2000s, we had a show called G4. And we had another gaming show. I don't remember the name of it. I think it was called Attack of the Show or something like that. It was a geek pop culture show. It would be great if there was more cable programming that was geared toward things that people actually liked. Like, you know, you could go to cable and there would be a video game network or something like that. But, unfortunately, there's not a lot of that stuff. Also, most people, for video game content anyway, they just watch YouTube. If you tried to make a video game channel, like a cable channel or something like that, it wouldn't survive. Because they'll be like, why do I need to watch this show when I could just go watch, you know, my favorite YouTuber? Which is true. A lot of traditional TV struggles with online. Most shows that start nowadays... Look at Frasier. Did you guys know that Frasier came back? Came back in like 2023 or something like that with a reboot. The show was canceled because... And this is Frasier, for crying out loud. It was a good show, like the reboot. But they just couldn't get like enough people to watch it because they can't compete with streaming services. So the show got canceled. There are lots of great sitcoms that start, and they only last one season because so many people are plugged into the internet nowadays that they get their entertainment from YouTube, from Twitch, from streaming services, that a lot of people aren't watching TV as much anymore. In fact, now, cable companies are including the option for your television or whatever to be able to stream online services through their cable because they know that cable is a dying art. Most people don't want to pay for cable anymore. They're like, I'm just gonna... Like, look at Amber and I. When we had the ability to have a landline installed in our home, they said, hey, do you want cable with your phone service? And it's like, no, we just want the phone and the internet. And they're like, oh, really? They said, well, how are you going to watch TV? It's like, we just watch TV on the internet. That was what we told the guy in 2011 when we moved into our Boston apartment. He was surprised. He was like, well, how are you going to watch the Sox? It's like, you know, we'll just watch it online. He said, we don't, you know, we have streaming services that we can watch off our PS3 or whatever. You know, and my wife and I work a lot, so cable doesn't really seem like it would be a benefit to us because, you know, there's no reason for it. And the guy was shocked. He was like, what? Well, that doesn't make any sense. He's like, how are you going to watch your favorite shows? He even said, this was a funny thing. He was like, how are you kids going to stay informed with the news? And, you know, I looked at the guy, the cable guy, and I said, I don't watch the news. And he was like, what? I said, yeah. He says, you don't watch the news at all. He says, do you listen to it on the radio? I said, nope. He says, how do you find out what's going on? I said, you know when you turn on your computer? And he's like, yeah. I said, well, when you turn on your computer, if you go to MSM or you go to Google or whatever, they show you what's happening in the world. So if I really need to know what's going on, I can just go on my computer for a few minutes. Why do I need to listen to a bunch of talking heads tell me what's going on when I can go look it up myself? And the guy looked stunned. He was like this 50-year-old gentleman installing our internet. And he was just like, oh, he says, I guess that's what kids are going to do these days. I said, if they're smart. I told him right there and then, like back in 2011, I said, the news is evil. He was like, huh. I said, yeah. I said, I'm a lot more chill without the news. I said, when you go home today, you should try to hang out with your wife and your kids, because you said you had kids. And instead of putting the news on with your dinner, why don't you put on cartoons? Or, you know, do you have a sitcom that you like watching or your kids enjoy? And he says, well, my kids like this show. I said, when you go home, go to dinner with your family in your house and don't turn on the news. And see if that improves your day. And he says, all right, I'll take you up on that. So, I don't know if he did it when he got home, but I told him to do it. Because I guarantee you that he was one of those individuals that went home and he always had the news on. Guarantee it. I do that all the time with people, though. I even tell my family, like, I called a certain relative. I heard them watching the news in the background. I said, I'm not going to talk to you when you have the news on. And they're like, okay, let me turn that off. I said, great. No. Hey, Zion, how's it going? Well, this is all the people we have, guys, so either you guys want to play or you don't. And then we're going to get to the Fortnite thing. Been focusing on school. You're in college now, right, Zion? Or are you an undergrad now? That's cool, Jotaro. Undergraduate? Oh my gosh. Man, the time flies. Oh, good for you, man. I hope it works out for you.
Pick your hero. Or villain. I'm not judging.
Make way for the king of thieves.
Mom, don't do that. My mom is going through some stuff. She's sending me pictures of my grandma. My mom is still, you know, she's still in the grieving state, even though grandma's been gone since January.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
So every once in a while, my mom sends me pictures of grandma on her phone, and then, like, you know, she's upset. But it's like, I try to tell my mom, don't do that a lot, because, you know, you're just gonna make yourself sad all the time. And my parents are weird. You know that my parents both drive ambulances now? My parents are in their golden years, and they're ambulance drivers.
2, 1.
I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what they're doing. As soon as my grandma died, my mom became a volunteer ambulance driver. I don't know why. Probably because she's dealing with some stuff and working helps her out. I don't know. And my dad became a volunteer firefighter. That's how they're dealing with their grief, I guess. I don't know.
Some uninvited guests.
And just so you know, my dad is smaller than me. Like, my dad is 5'9". He's a, you know, he's a well-off sized guy, so he could handle being a volunteer fireman, but he's a tiny man. I'm 6'4", so you can imagine, you know, how tiny my dad is, right? My wife gets along with my dad because they're around, you know. My wife is 5'2" and my dad is 5'9", so they're relatively around the same height. But yeah, I wish my mom wouldn't send stuff like that, because she's just gonna make herself sadder and sadder. Plus, she's gonna make me get all misty-eyed. Because I wasn't even thinking about Grandma. Now, after seeing my grandma's face, you know. But people are asking about Thanksgiving before. My favorite Thanksgivings are the ones that I have with my wife. I love having Thanksgiving with my wife. So, Yeah. No, I don't think my wife, or excuse me, I don't think my sister's a bad person. I said my sister is consumes so much propaganda that she sees anybody with a political difference in her as the enemy. She's been conditioned and programmed by society to think that. She's not a bad person. She's just warped. I love my sister very much. I would love to talk to my sister. My sister can't get the courage to talk to me because she's been programmed to hate me. And I'm not even a Republican. But I don't get along with her because I don't agree with the things that she agrees with.
30 seconds before
So,
you attack.
you know.
Get ready.
I see you have an army.
My sister had a post on her Facebook, I think it was like 3 or 4 months ago, where, from what I remember, she was calling half the country Hitler, so, you know, she probably sees Amber and I as Hitler. I don't know.
The battle starts in 5.
But like I said, I've had the same phone number for 25 years. She and her husband can call at any time. I haven't changed my phone number.
Capture the mission area. Got it?
No matter what state I move to, I use the same business line. And she has it, so it's not like she doesn't have the ability to contact me. She doesn't want to. Because she's been conditioned and programmed to see anybody who has a different political opinion than her, along with millions of other Americans, that they're the enemy. And it's very sad, but it's what it is. In the 90s and the 2000s, I had so many friends that were on so many different political sides. I had a libertarian. I had several libertarian friends. I had centrists. I had Republicans, Democrats, Blue Dog Democrats. I don't even know if you guys know what that term is. But I had a couple Blue Dog friends. Nowadays, the only Democrat friends I have, they don't even call themselves Blue Dog Democrats anymore. Most of my Democrat friends all became independents, like me. They don't even refer to themselves as Democrats. When people started burning down half the country, that's when they stopped being Democrats. They became independents or libertarians. All my Democrat friends became far-left extremists. The Republican friends still talk to me from time to time, but they only want to talk about politics, so phone conversations with me with them last 5 minutes. I ask them, hey, how's the wife and kids? How's your job going? You know, how's life treating you? You healthy? You know, you remember this about this show or something like that? And they say, yeah. And as soon as they try to change the topic to politics, I'm like, hey, I gotta go. It was great catching up. And I hang up. I don't let them get in any word edgewise about politics. I hang up. Regardless if they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, I won't give them the time of day with that stuff. So I basically keep the conversation on what I want to talk about, and when they veer off and they talk about something I don't want to, I leave. Pretty much, because I mean, I'm willing to talk to them about a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to talk to them about politics. That's where I draw the line in the sand. Oh, it's okay, Uncle Howdy. I mean, you know, I don't see how any good comes from discussing that stuff. So it's just based on my own experience. It's just going to end into a lot of aggressive and, you know, bad behavior from them. So why subject myself to that? I get screamed at on the internet all the time by psychopaths. Why would I have my friends who I've known for like 20 years, why would I give them the opportunity to basically try to bring me into their cult? Like, I already have a religious thing I believe. I don't need to be inundated by something else. I'm not for their team anyway. So it's just a waste of time. Plus, you know, I value our friendship more than what their political differences are. I've known some of these guys since college. I'm more concerned about, you know, how they're doing. A buddy of mine was in a car accident. He's a Democrat. Well, I mean, he was a Democrat. He's an independent, but he still thinks like a Democrat. So I wanted to know how he was. I contacted his family. His wife answered. And I was like, okay. Can you go downstairs? I'm more concerned about a person's soul than I am about what political party they believe in. You know? I worry more about the spiritual aspect of a person than, you know, their hobbies. More or less. And it is a hobby. It's a obsessive compulsive thing that people do. So I always steer the conversation in my favor about stuff, because I'm not going to talk to them about that stuff. And I do the same thing with family. If they try to bring politics up, I hang up. I let them know ahead of time. It's like, hey, I'm not going to talk about this with you. I love you, but I'm going to go. And before they can say anything, I hang up. So. And it's, you know, that's how it's been working for me for, I don't know, 20 years? Something like that. I think everybody's life has value. I think everybody is made in the image of God, and that every person is special and unique. And every person deserves to live, as well as, like, you're only given one life. I don't believe in reincarnation. I don't believe in being Ishkide or anything like that. So you need to make the most of your life. And if you're struggling with something, then you need to get... I don't know how to say this in a non-blunt way. But as someone who survived, like, clinical depression, you got to get your head in order. You cannot let your head control you. You have to control your own thoughts. Your mind is not in power over you. You need to be in power over your mind. Because your mind is going to make you feel and behave in a way that is going to let fear rule your life. And you need to come to a point where you don't have those type of thoughts anymore. Because I was where you are many, many years ago. Like, I had you know, I went through a lot of things from the car accident. And, you know, I faced my stuff, and I'm still here. But, you know, it was hard because I was losing my memory. I'm still losing my memory. I still have problems. I have neuropathy. I've got memory issues. I've got a lot of problems that stem from the car accident. But I still fight every single day. And the most important thing that I try to do is to keep my mind off things that are going to make me, you know, fall into that abyss of depression. Because depression is a very real thing, but you have to get the tools to fight it. You need contingency plans to deal with depression. You can't have depression rule your life, because that's what depression wants to do. Depression wants to knock you off your feet and defeat you. You can't be defeated by it. You have to conquer it. And you are capable of conquering it. You just have to find out what works for you. What works for me might be different than you. That's why it's important to talk to people that are experts in that field. I am not an expert in that field. I'm just a dude on the internet. What worked for me might not work for you. The most important thing that I can tell you after seeing so many psychologists in Boston and New York City and Illinois is the lessons that they taught me is you need to get in control of your own mind. Your mind is a powerful entity that can either make your life better or destroy it. So the first thing that you have to do is you have to be the master of your own mind. And that's after thousands of dollars in therapy talking. So that's basically the bullet points that I heard from so many different shrinks in the early 2000s. They all basically said the same thing. Your mind is very powerful. It can be used for good. It can be used for evil. It can be used for knocking you off your feet. And you can't let your mind control you. Because there is nothing more that the devil revels in is people giving up. The devil hates it when people actually fight and survive and improve their own lives. Because the devil wants you to be wallowing in self-pity and doubt and fear and depression because it satisfies him. It makes him happy. You don't want to make the devil happy. You want to crush the devil. You want to make it so he's angry at you. That's what I do. I make the devil pissed every day. And I love it. Because every day he tries to destroy me and I keep going. He throws all kinds of weirdos at me and all kinds of stuff. I'm still here. Because perseverance and strength is something that spiritual forces do not like. They do not like. If they're trying to come after you and destroy you, that means that in the future you're going to do something that is, you know, very significant. That's what I believe. But at the same time, from a secular point of view, it's also important to get your head together. Because you're capable of a lot. You just have to learn how to deal with that. And I've literally almost walked in front of traffic numerous times from my hospital bed. So, I was in a really messed up place after my car accident. So, and that was 20-something years ago. You gotta get your head in the right place. And it is possible. You did what, Jotaro? Oh my gosh. Okay. It's Saturday, but I appreciate the speech. I mean, every day blends in for me. Like, everything is a blur. Like, I work so much that, like, the days just merge into one. Like, I won't be done streaming until, like, close to 2 a.m. tonight, right? Everything just kind of goes whoop. It just all smushes together. Days, weeks. So I forget that it's a Monday or it's a Saturday or whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. Weekends used to have value to me. Weekend is just another day to try to make more money. It's not. I don't even see it as like, the weekend I get to relax. It's like, no, it's another day of work. Work, 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 work. You guys are making me want to call my family, though. But I know what's going to happen if I talk to anybody other than my parents. I just don't want to go through that.
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
But if I did have family members listening, yeah, that's why I don't like going to Thanksgiving, is because Thanksgiving after 9/11 has always been argumentative and annoying. That I have problems digesting food, so when I get super stressed, like, I don't want to choke on my food, you know?
The battle starts in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Is this new?
You have to stop them from securing the mission area.
Is this new, or has this always been here? I don't remember all this smoke and stuff. The smoke doesn't look very good, though. This looks really bad. It makes the rest of the level look really dumb in comparison. Can you actually go inside? Yeah, that doesn't look like... They need to fix that. That doesn't look like real smoke. The mist coming off the water looks better than the mist inside that gate. No, it's just a bad map? Okay. I mean, I literally, like, dude, I've got people on the internet that wish me dead all the time. You cannot change how other people think about you. You never will. I can't change the heart of my haters. I can't get my sister to call me. If I focus on that stuff, I'm going to get very upset. All you can do is focus on the people that like you and liking yourself. But that's the most important thing. You can't worry about what other people think about you. That's always going to hold you back. Like, if I could save you money for therapy like that, that's a big core thing that you need to, you know, really start wood shopping yourself. Is you can't worry about what others think about you. You have to be confident in yourself and just, like, you know, pardon the language, but you have to screw them. I have tons of family members and friends and ex-haters that say horrible things about me all the time. And I don't really care what they think about me. Now, I don't really like them either. I think they're scumbuckets, but I'm just saying. You can't let what other people think about you dictate how you're going to live your life. Because you don't want to put yourself in a prison. You know what I mean? You can't change how other people perceive you. But if it makes it easier for you, I think you're a pretty cool guy. So, but yeah, that's the best advice I can give you. Is you got to you can't worry about what other people think about you, because you'll never change their mind.
Better stop that vehicle. They've made it halfway. Stop them.
That boy's springing my step. Turret's blown. I'm infantry again.
That's just some friendly advice. So.
Born again.
Dang it! Yeah, don't let hate control your life. Exactly. Yep.
There's still a chance to stop them. Better stop that vehicle.
Feel the wrath of the goddess.
Dang it! That was my gambit to kill. No. That guy's been messing with me this entire game. I wanted to kill him so much. I didn't even get the kill for killing him. Darn.
They hit a checkpoint.
That's upsetting.
Now might be a good time to stop them.
I wanted to kill him so badly. Why? Why do you deny me, game?
Bogeys incoming.
Better stop that vehicle.
What? Darn it. Wait, was that Ultron? Who was that? I don't even know who that was.
Gambit coming back for more.
Thank you for playing, Kaya. I'm glad you're happy. Glad we could get you in some matches. You're welcome to play with us again, you know, provided the stream gets 1,000 views. So.
Help. So cold.
So cold. No! No, I don't want to lose to the Gambit again! Curses! Oh, I didn't. I got killed by, who did I die? Oh. Scarlet Witch killed me.
Double KO.
Gambit coming back for more.
That helps a lot. I mean, I'm not a medical professional or anything, but, you know. Yeah, you gotta... If I worried about all the people that didn't like me, I would just be sitting in a shower crying like Spider-Man in that one meme. I don't really care what other people think about me. They think I'm rude or whatever. I've heard everything in the book about me on the internet. I don't really care. The only thing I got mad about is when they said that I abused my wife. Like, then I was ready to knock their teeth in. If I could, you know, find them. That's the only thing that I'll stand up about myself, is if, like, people say something horrible about my wife, and when I find them, then they'll know why they're getting roughed up. Is because they did something that I see as completely unacceptable. Bringing my wife into things, but other than that, I don't really care. Nope, this stream is nowhere close to 1,000 views, correct. Yeah. It's almost 5 hours long, and we gotta get to the next stream because the other stream is like... it'll keep the channel stable. But yeah, the Gambit stream is nowhere near 1,000 views yet. But I can't keep going anyway, it's already past 5 hours. So if you guys want more Marvel Rivals, you know the drill. 1,000 views is required. Amber and I do not get paid for anything under 1,000 views, regardless of how many ads YouTube ran, and they probably ran a ton. But it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. But yeah, if you guys could do me a solid, with my ADD and stuff, try not to bring up like too much political or social justice stuff, because I will go on a tangent, because I've been on the bad end of things. Just in the future, like, try to keep your comments about the game or something like that. Don't veer off too much, because like I don't have a filter the way that Amber does. Like, ADD people are very honest and, like, open about stuff, as well as, like, especially expressing pain or, like, experience and things like that. Like, that's, storytelling or describing things in detail is what people with ADD do. So, in the future, just try to keep things... Because, I mean, I'll go on for hours and hours about all kinds of, like, stuff that happened. Why I don't like this, why I don't like that. Like, I'll give like a thesis basically, because I don't have a filter or a stop button when it comes to certain things. So if you want the streams to be on topic for like superheroes or, you know, ninjas or whatever, just try to keep the comments based on that. And I'm not mad at any individual, I'm just saying for future reference, like, that's something that with my disability I need help with, because like I'll just talk about whatever. Because that's the one thing about ADD people, like, for me, I feel that's my biggest, like, flaw, is, like, I'm too honest, as well as, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm too open about stuff. And most YouTubers don't do that, because, you know, a lot of them don't have ADD, of course, but there's other stuff. I didn't get one kill! Ah! Not one! That sucks! Whatever. I don't care. Is Squirrel Girl part of the Avengers? You'd have to ask somebody in the chat. I don't read Marvel very much. When Squirrel Girl was invented, I stopped reading Marvel comics when Spider-Man sold his marriage to the devil. Like, I kept watching Spectacular Spider-Man and went and supported the Spider-Man movies and the X-Men movies and X-Men games and stuff like that, but I stopped cold turkey with Marvel when Spider-Man sold his marriage to the devil. That was the line in the sand for me, and I just like became like a solely DC person after that. That was a big low blow that Marvel didn't need to do, and I was like, you know what? Me supporting them is not a wise venture, so I'm just not gonna buy Marvel comics anymore. And that's what I did. I was like, okay, guess I'm done with that. But that was pretty upsetting. I didn't like that. I was like, wow, that's messed up. And it came out of nowhere too. It wasn't even written well. Even if it was written well, it's such a terrible thing to you know, make a suggestion about. Oh, we don't have enough for this icon yet. Okay. We're getting there, Spidey. We're getting there. Can we unlock another character? Probably not. Maybe we can. There we go. I am Groot! Ba 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 ba. I guess we can equip that, sure. Yay, Groot! Nope, we cannot do that. Alright, so we have to gain points toward that. But, yeah. Thanks for watching, people. Fortnite is next, and then there might be an Ultimate tonight. I don't know, though. We'll figure it out. Okay? Alright. Head on over to the next stream, and we'll be doing Lisa Simpson. But those of you, again, asking about The Simpsons. The Simpsons game will be continuing as a Wii game. When I don't know, and solo leveling is set up so people know that solo leveling is coming. Okay? Alrighty. That's it, that's all. So, I will cut out the, I don't even know how long. Ooh. This is gonna end up being a, 4-hour stream. I can't help that, but do the best we can. Alright, guys. God bless. Happy gaming. See you on the next one. I should have taken breaks on this. Oh, well. I want pizza. Oh, well.